Chapter 4288. He does deserve to die. A cold light flashed in Heavenly Lord Ji's eyes. He used to trust Elder Wu very much and was very grateful to him, because Elder Wu not only saved Ji Tianyue's life, but also doted on him and Ji Tianyue when they were young. Even, he treated Elder Wu as his grandfather. But he didn't expect that Elder Wu was just pretending. How is it? Is your good mood gone? The white-eyed wolf couldn't help but laugh. You're still gloating? The king stared at the white-eyed wolf angrily. He was indeed heartless. He looked at Qin Feiyang and said, "When can we get rid of him?" Qin Feiyang pondered for a while and said with a smile, "Now is fine." Now? The king and Heavenly Lord Ji looked at each other. Yes, he wants to die. If we don't help him, wouldn't we be letting him down? Qin Feiyang laughed. What do you mean? The king and the white-eyed wolf looked at Qin Feiyang curiously. We didn't kill him before because he might still be useful, and we couldn't find a suitable reason. But now, he has delivered a reason to us. A cold light flashed in Qin Feiyang's eyes, and he continued, "This time, they schemed against us. Not only will I get back at them, but I will also make them pay the price." They? The four frowned. Yes, not only Elder Wu, but Dong Laifu also has to die. Qin Feiyang smiled coldly. Hurry up and say it. Don't waste time and deliberately keep us in suspense. Heavenly Lord Ji urged. It's very simple. Long Chun has the soul-controlling art. We'll find a chance to control Dong Laifu. At that time, we'll make him say in person how he sent people to Qingyang Mountain to kill Lu Yuntian and Lu Yunfeng's family and then frame us. Qin Feiyang laughed. Good plan. The monarch and Heavenly Lord Ji nodded. In this way, the inner demons and Lu Jiajin could openly kill Dong Laifu and eliminate a future enemy. At the same time, they could also eliminate the spy, Old Wu. It was killing two birds with one stone. That's not right. The white-eyed wolf suddenly said, Dong Laifu asked First Uncle to impersonate you to kill us. Won't First Uncle be implicated then? Uncle will definitely be implicated. But the inner demons and eldest cousin are on the same side. So eldest uncle naturally has a way out. I've already thought of a way out for uncle. Qin Feiyang chuckled. What path of retreat? Heavenly Lord Ji looked at Qin Feiyang suspiciously. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, when the time comes, you can split a part of your soul in advance. Even if the inner demons and big cousin kill you, you won't be able to do anything. Kill me? Where will I go in the future? He can't possibly come back from the dead. Heavenly Lord Ji was speechless. Of course not. When the time comes, you can come to our black tortoise world. Qin Feiyang chuckled. Your black tortoise world? Heavenly Lord Ji was stunned. That's right. You've been busy all day in the purple gold divine dragon clan, and now you can come to our black tortoise world to enjoy life. Also, you can also take the opportunity to go into seclusion and integrate all the other ultimate mysteries. Qin Feiyang smiled. The white-eyed wolf's eyes lit up and nodded. That makes sense. If you stay in the purple gold divine dragon clan, will you have time to integrate the ultimate mysteries we gave you? That's right. After so many years, I'm indeed a little tired. I can take this opportunity to have a good rest. Heavenly Lord Ji nodded. I don't agree. The king suddenly spoke with a dark face. Huh. Everyone looked at the king. The king glared at Heavenly Lord Ji and said angrily, I haven't even retired, and you're already thinking about enjoying life as a son? Ha! Heavenly Lord Ji laughed dryly. Besides, if you leave, who will be in charge of the purple gold divine dragon clan's affairs? The king said, Don't we still have you? Heavenly Lord Ji smiled flatteringly. Get lost. Is this what a son should say? If you want to enjoy life, it should be me. The king said angrily. The corner of Heavenly Lord Ji's mouth twitched. The king said unhappily, If I had known, I wouldn't have let you go to Blue Sun Mountain. I would have gone there personally. This way, I can fake my death and enjoy life openly. But now, the person going to Blue Sun Mountain is me. Besides, isn't there still second uncle? He has long coveted the position of the patriarch. Why don't we let him sit for a while? Heavenly Lord Ji mumbled. Nonsense. It's not like you don't know what kind of person your second uncle is. He doesn't have this ability at all. The king berated. Let me say something. Actually, the current strength of the Purple Gold Divine Dragon clan is not that great. At least, it is much weaker than the Central Dynasty. Therefore, if First Uncle can integrate all the ultimate profoundness, it will be of great help to the situation in the future. Qin Feiyang looked at the king and said with a smile. Indeed. The white-eyed wolf and Frenzy nodded in agreement. The king looked at the white-eyed wolf and Frenzy, then at Qin Feiyang and Heavenly Lord Ji, and asked, "You two are in cahoots, right?" "No, definitely not." Qin Feiyang hurriedly waved his hand and said, "If you insist on not agreeing, it's fine. But for the time being, there is no chance to get rid of Dong Laifu. We can only keep Old Wu for now. As long as you don't feel annoyed when you see Old Wu every day in the future, it will be fine." "You stinking brat. Do you think that I don't dare to kill him personally?" The king said angrily. "Of course you dare. But now, Old Wu is already related to the people of the Central Dynasty. You have to think twice before you kill him, lest he brings you trouble." Qin Feiyang chuckled. The king frowned. This kid was obviously going to get rid of him. Heavenly Lord Ji was very tactful and remained silent, because he knew his father's temper. If he spoke now, it would only be counterproductive. You just have to work a little harder. Besides, you have to give Ji Yunhai a chance. You can't keep First Uncle by your side all the time. Don't you want to have another grandchild? If First Uncle is always busy, then will he still have time to make babies? Frenzy bared his teeth. Hearing this, Heavenly Lord Ji's face couldn't help but turn black. What nonsense was this? The king was also extremely speechless. This was too far-fetched. But then again, he only had one son, Heavenly Lord Ji, and Heavenly Lord Ji only had one son. His bloodline was really not that great. All right, I agree. But don't misunderstand. I don't want any grandchild. I just want him to have time to integrate the ultimate meaning. When I retire in the future, he can become the pillar of the Purple Gold Divine Dragon race." The king said, "Understood, understood." Qin Feiyang nodded. "Thank you, father." Heavenly Lord Ji was very excited. He could finally put down this heavy burden and live the life he wanted. "You seem very happy?" The king frowned and glanced at Heavenly Lord Ji. No, I'm not happy. Instead, I'm sad that I won't be able to help father in the future." Heavenly Lord Ji blinked his eyes with a sad expression. The corners of Qin Feiyang and the other two's mouths twitched. They were all drama queens. "Stop. You're giving me goosebumps." The king slapped Heavenly Lord Ji's head and sighed. "To be honest, apart from you, I really don't know who else has the ability to manage the Purple Gold Divine Dragon race well. Ability isn't innate. If it weren't for your nurturing, I wouldn't have this ability either. So, as long as you're willing to trust Second Uncle, I believe that he can do it." Heavenly Lord Ji smiled. "All right." The king nodded, then looked at Qin Feiyang and the other two and said, "But before you take action, I have to see my younger brother's attitude first." "What attitude?" Qin Feiyang and the other two were suspicious. "His attitude towards you." The king's eyes flashed. He didn't explain and turned off the voice transmission stone. He looked at Heavenly Lord Ji and said, "Go and call your second uncle here." "Okay." Heavenly Lord Ji nodded and didn't ask any more questions. He turned and left quickly. In less than 100 breaths, Heavenly Lord Ji led Ji Yunhai into the room. Ji Yunhai looked at the king and said with a smile, "Big brother, is there something important that you asked Heavenly Lord Ji to call me here in the middle of the night?" "Yes." The king smiled and pointed at the chair opposite him. Ji Yunhai walked over and sat on the chair. Heavenly Lord Ji sat next to the king. The king waved his hand and set up a soundproof barrier. He said with a smile, "Second brother, we're brothers. There are some things that I won't beat around the bush and say directly. Why does it seem to be quite serious?" Ji Yunhai was a little flustered. "Don't be nervous." The king smiled and comforted him. "Actually, I know that you've always been interested in the position of the Purple Gold Divine Dragon clan's patriarch." Before the king finished speaking, Ji Yunhai hurriedly got up, his face full of fear. He said hurriedly, "Big brother, what are you nervous about? Sit down, sit down. Tonight, Just treat it as a heart-to-heart talk between us brothers. The king stretched out his hand and said with a smile. Why did it feel like he was a tyrant in his younger brother's eyes? Ji Yunhai looked at the king, and then at Heavenly Lord Ji. Heavenly Lord Ji also gave him a comforting look. At this time, Ji Yunhai suppressed the fear in his heart and returned to the chair. Yunhai, let me ask you a question. If you were the patriarch of the Purple Gold Divine Dragon Clan, how would you deal with the current situation? The king asked. The current situation? Ji Yunhai was taken aback. That's right. Qin Feiyong and his people are now like the sun at noon in the Divine Kingdom. The sea race and the beast race have successively fallen in their hands. Now, even the people of the Central Dynasty have repeatedly lost to them. Facing them, how do you think our Purple Gold Divine Dragon Clan should deal with them? And what's your attitude towards Qin Feiyong and his people now? The king asked with a smile. When Heavenly Lord Ji heard this, he finally understood what his father meant by attitude. He was testing his second uncle. If his second uncle's answer couldn't satisfy his father, then the matter of him faking his death would probably be ruined. Chapter 4289. Well, Ji Yunhai wanted to say something but stopped. He seemed to be hesitating. Just say it. The king smiled. Ji Yunhai gritted his teeth and said seriously, brother, don't be angry if I really say it. Also, you can't let others know. You'll lose your life. The king and Heavenly Lord Ji looked at each other and looked at Ji Yunhai suspiciously. Let's talk about the current situation of the Divine Kingdom first. As you said, Qin Feiyong and the others are like the sun in the sky now. The sea race and the beast race continue to fall in their hands. The Purple Gold Divine Dragon race, the human race, and the deity race have also suffered great losses in their hands. You can say that. Now, the four great continents can't compete with them unless we join forces with the other races. But even if we join forces, we can't beat them. Ji Yunhai shook his head and sighed. Heavenly Lord Ji frowned and said, we can't beat them even if we join forces? Isn't this a bit boosting the morale of others and destroying our own? Heavenly Lord, you're wrong. Second uncle doesn't mean to boost the morale of others at all, because that's the truth. Although we can indeed threaten Qin Feiyong and the others if we join forces, they have brains and all kinds of heaven-defying methods. For example, Mu Qing's all-seeing eye is a problem that can't be solved. With the all-seeing eye, they can find our whereabouts at any time, but we don't even know where they're hiding. They can definitely find a chance to defeat us one by one. Ji Yunhai sighed. Makes sense. The king and Heavenly Lord nodded. Ji Yunhai shook his head and said, I even think that if they want to, they can destroy us in minutes. The king was surprised and smiled. I didn't expect you to see the problem so clearly. Brother, don't laugh at me. Anyone with a discerning eye can see this kind of thing. I don't believe that you can't see it. Ji Yunhai waved his hand and felt ashamed. Then, how do you think we should solve the current situation? The king asked. 2 ways. The first way is to let the emperor of the Central Dynasty send a large army. Big brother, you saw what happened during this period of time. Back then, when Elder you brought the 10 great prodigies to the 4 great continents, we all thought that these people from the Central Dynasty would definitely have the ability to eliminate Qin Feiyong and the others. But in the end, not only did they fail to get rid of Qin Feiyong and the others, they even caused the destruction of the sea race and the beast race. As for the top 10 prodigies, 8 of them fled back to the Central Dynasty. Only Yu Lao, Lu Yuntian, and Lu Yunfeng are left. But we don't know if Yu Lao is still alive. Lu Yuntian and his brother might be strong, but they're far from enough to face Qin Feiyong and the others. When Ji Yunhai spoke up to hear, he could not help but let out a sigh. In such a large divine kingdom, there was not a single person who could subdue these people. It was really a sad thing. Elder Yu, I'm afraid he's already done for. Heavenly Lord Ji sighed. I think so too. How could he die peacefully after falling into the hands of Qin Feiyong and the others? The monarch nodded. In fact, they knew that Yu Lao, Neptune, and the dragon god had already been killed. But now, Ji Yunhai's position was still uncertain, so he could not say it directly. Second uncle, please continue. Heavenly Lord Ji looked at Ji Yunhai and smiled. After Yu Lao and the 10 heavenly talents, the 5 unparalleled talents of the Central Dynasty came to the 4 great continents. They're indeed powerful, but what's the point? The 5 of them were defeated one after another, and were even played around by Qin Feiyong and the others. So, no matter how strong they can't defeat Qin Feiyong and the others with their own strength. We can only fight head-on if the Central Dynasty comes. Ji Yunhai said. The monarch frowned and said, but we don't know how many overlords there are in the Central Dynasty. That's why I'm hesitating. It's fine if the Central Dynasty has the ability to eliminate Qin Feiyong and the others, but if they don't have the ability, then won't the purple gold divine dragons be destroyed sooner or later if we continue to follow the Central Dynasty? Ji Yunhai was worried. Heavenly Lord Ji's pupils shrank, and he said, Second uncle, what do you mean? Do you want us to betray the Central Dynasty? Sure. Ji Yunhai's face changed, and he quickly made a shushing gesture. He looked at the closed door, and his face was full of vigilance. Don't worry, I've set up a soundproof barrier. No one can hear you. The monarch comforted. Still, we have to be careful, Ji Yunhai said cautiously. He looked at Heavenly Lord Ji and said, Heavenly Lord, this is the second option I'm going to talk about. Of course, I'm just saying, don't take it too seriously. Go ahead. Heavenly Lord Ji and the monarch looked at each other and looked at Ji Yunhai with anticipation. Ji Yunhai's eyes flashed and he said word by word, the second option I'm talking about is to betray the divine kingdom. Hearing this, the father and son couldn't help but be shocked. They didn't expect Ji Yunhai to already have such an idea. This was good news, because as long as Ji Yunhai had such an idea, they could strike while the iron was hot and completely persuade Ji Yunhai. I know, betraying the divine kingdom is an act of disloyalty, but, as the direct descendants of the Purple Gold Divine Dragon clan, we must think for our clan. No matter what you think, I really don't want our Purple Gold Divine Dragon clan to follow in the footsteps of the Sea Race and the Beast Race. And if we don't want to follow in the footsteps of the Sea Race and the Beast Race, the only way is to cooperate with Qin Feiyong and overthrow the Central Dynasty. A trace of ruthlessness appeared in Ji Yunhai's eyes. Heavenly Lord Ji looked shocked and said, Second uncle, this idea of yours is crazy. It is a little crazy, but it's a feasible path. Think about it. Whose descendant is Qin Feiyong? He's Yu Er's descendant. Qin Batian is Yu Er's biological child. In terms of seniority, I'm also Qin Baishan's second grandfather. Heavenly Lord, you're also Qin Baishan's uncle. What kind of relationship is this? Blood is thicker than water. And last time, when Dong Tianqin used my brother as a bargaining chip, Qin Feiyong heard the news and came personally. Although it was only an avatar, it's enough to show that he does have some feelings for the Purple Gold Divine Dragon clan. Actually, speaking of this, Ji Yunhai paused for a while and sighed. I've been very conflicted these years. Conflicted? The father and son were both suspicious. Yes, very conflicted. I used to hate Qin Feiyong and the others because they took away Xiaoyi's Eye of Destiny. They also had something to do with Tianfeng's death. After that happened, I don't know how many nights I couldn't sleep. The endless pain and suffering almost made me collapse. But at the same time, in the dead of the night, I also thought about many things alone. Xiaoyi can't blame Qin Feiyong and the others for losing the Eye of Destiny. This is because they didn't take it by force like they did to Jiang Yunshuang and the others. Instead, they competed fairly. As for Tianfeng, he betrayed his clan and became the pawn of the Sea Race and the Beast Race. He deserved it. Ji Yunhai sighed. Speaking of this, he felt very guilty. Ji Tianfeng was his son. He was also responsible for his son becoming like this. The king poured a cup of tea and handed it to Ji Yunhai. He smiled and said, It's all in the past. There's no need to mention it. Okay. Ji Yunhai nodded and took the teacup. He looked at the rippling tea and said, Actually, what really made me want to betray was when I discovered that Neptune and the dragon god had the power of the origin. The king and Heavenly Lord Ji looked at each other. Speaking of this, they were also very angry. No matter what we do, it has always been us, the 3 major races, at the forefront. The Sea Race and the Beast Race have always been aloof and indifferent. But why should they be given the power of the origin and not us? The ruler is obviously biased. And it's not just a little. Ji Yunhai snorted coldly. Indeed, we're fighting at the front, while the sea race and the beast race are enjoying the fruits of our labor. In the end, they still get more than us. Heavenly Lord Ji nodded. At the end of the day, the ruler is treating the three races as cannon fodder. The king shook his head and sighed. You feel that way too? Ji Yunhai looked at the king in surprise. I'm not stupid. I've seen all these things. I just didn't dare to say it out loud. The king smiled. Ji Yunhai smiled and said, It seems like my previous worries were unnecessary. I was afraid that you would hear my heartfelt words and blame me. Why would I? We're blood brothers. The king waved his hand and pondered for a while. He looked at Ji Yunhai and said, There's one more thing that you might not know. Not only did the ruler give Neptune and the dragon god the power of the origin, he also ordered them to monitor us. If we do anything wrong, the two of them can use the power of the origin to kill us first and report later. What? Ji Yunhai was furious and said, We've worked hard for the divine kingdom, and this is what we get in return? The king and heavenly Lord Ji looked at each other. It seemed that there were some things that didn't need to be said. Ji Yunhai calmed down the anger in his heart and looked at the father and son. Since we've already said it, then I'll say it all. The ruler was unkind to us first, so he can't blame us for being unkind to him. What do you mean? Heavenly Lord Ji asked. Betray the divine kingdom and fight for the benefits that we deserve. Similarly, only in this way can we change the fate of the purple gold divine dragon race. Our fate can't be controlled by others. We have to control it ourselves. Ji Yunhai clenched his fists. You still want to betray us? The monarch looked shocked. The ruler has already treated us like this, and you still want to be loyal to him? Big brother, this is blind loyalty, and it will harm our purple gold divine dragon race in the end. Ji Yunhai said angrily. The father and son looked at each other again, and a smile gradually appeared on their faces. I'm talking business with you. What are you laughing about? Ji Yunhai frowned. Chapter 4290. Second uncle, we're very happy that you can say such sincere words, because at least it proves that you put the safety and fate of the purple gold divine dragon clan first in your heart. Heavenly Lord Ji smiled. Isn't that nonsense? I'm a member of the purple gold divine dragon clan. Of course I'll put the safety and fate of the entire clan first. So in your eyes, your second uncle is really a selfish person? Ji Yunhai rolled his eyes. No. Heavenly Lord Ji quickly waved his hand and sighed. You're right, but will Qin Feiyang cooperate with us?
Yes.
Definitely. Ji Yunhai nodded and said with certainty. Why? Heavenly Lord Ji was curious, because the power of the purple gold divine dragon bloodline also flows in his body. Because he's Yu-Er's descendant, didn't you notice a problem? This time, the purple gold divine dragon clan, the human clan and the god clan invaded the sky cloud realm. However, after Qin Feiyang and the others entered the divine kingdom, they destroyed the sea race and the magical beast race first. As for our three races, although we suffered quite a bit, we didn't suffer much overall. Why is that? Ji Yunhai asked. Why? The father and son were puzzled. In fact, they knew in their hearts. Because the merman and the beast clan are the ruler's confidants. Only by eliminating them can we truly weaken the ruler's strength.
And
didn't Qin Feiyang say in Qingtian City last time that we should abandon the dark side and join the light side? From this point, we can see that he has always been merciful to the three of us. In other words, he doesn't want to become a real enemy with us.
And
this matter must have something to do with Yu-Er. Although Yu-Er betrayed the divine kingdom back then, based on my understanding of her, she definitely doesn't want Qin Feiyang and the others to fight to the death with the purple gold divine dragon clan. So I guess Yu-Er must have warned Qin Feiyang before. Ji Yunhai smiled. The monarch's expression froze. He could not help but seriously size up Ji Yunhai. This heart-to-heart talk, again and again, made him look at his younger brother in a new light. Ji Tianjun laughed inwardly. Father, you see, second uncle isn't a fool. On the contrary, he's a very shrewd person. It's just that there hasn't been a stage for him to display his skills in recent years. Don't you just want to slack off? The monarch secretly glared at him. Heavenly Lord Ji smiled awkwardly. The monarch pondered for a moment, then raised his head to look at Ji Yunhai and said with a smile, "Then tell me about your current attitude towards Qin Feiyang." His attitude towards Qin Feiyang. Ji Yunhai thought for a while, then sighed and said, "Right now, the most important thing is to admire." Admire? The monarch was taken aback. Yes, the law of life and death, the eye of heaven, these heaven-defying techniques are secondary. The main thing is that his mind is too sharp. In fact, it's not difficult to find out. Whether it's Frenzy, Golden-Winged Wolf King, or Mu Qing, these people, they all regard him as their leader. Sometimes, I even think how good it would be if he's really a descendant of our Purple Gold Divine Dragon clan. Ji Yunhai shook his head. He's our descendant. The monarch laughed. Huh. Ji Yunhai was stunned. Although there was indeed the implication of the bloodline power, at present, Qin Feiyang and the Purple Gold Divine Dragon clan did not have such a relationship. Second brother, since we've already said so, then there are some things that we won't hide from you anymore. The monarch smiled slightly. The smile on Ji Tianjuan's face was also quite bright. What is it? Ji Yunhai looked at the two of them suspiciously. Actually, the monarch glanced at Ji Tianjun, then looked at Ji Yunhai and said with a smile, "We've already cooperated with Qin Feiyang." What? Ji Yunhai suddenly stood up. His face was full of shock. There's no need to be surprised. It's not just us. The Divine King and the Human Sovereign have also formed an alliance with Qin Feiyang. The monarch smiled. When did this happen? Ji Yunhai was surprised. The monarch smiled and said, "I think it was when they first went to the village." So early? Ji Yunhai was stunned. Actually, it wasn't my wish to form an alliance. It was grandfather and the others' decision. To tell you the truth, grandfather and the others have been dissatisfied with the sovereign and the central dynasty for a long time. As for why, you should know. The monarch smiled. I know this. Because of my grandmother's death. Ji Yunhai nodded. Yes. Furthermore, grandfather and the others have already seen the sovereign's true colors. If the Purple Gold Divine Dragon clan wants to go further, then we have to resist. However, don't misunderstand. When it came to the Eye of Destiny, they didn't have any intention of siding with Qin Feiyang and the others, because I was there at that time. Xiaoyi's performance was indeed much worse than Dong Zhengyang's. The monarch sighed. You don't have to explain. I believe that. Ji Yunhai shook his head and returned to his seat to calm himself down. And Lu Yuntian and Lu Yunfeng. Do you know their true identities? The monarch smiled and asked, What identities? Ji Yunhai was suspicious. The monarch said, Lu Yuntian is Qin Feiyang's inner demons, and Lu Yunfeng is Qin Feiyang's cousin. What? Ji Yunhai stood up again and said in shock, So, Lu Yunfeng and Lu Yunfeng are spies who infiltrated the central dynasty? That's right. The monarch nodded and smiled. There's one more thing. Wait a moment. Let me digest this. Ji Yunhai hurriedly waved his hand. This news was too shocking. The Divine King, the sovereign of the human race, and his elder brother had formed an alliance with Qin Feiyang. Furthermore, it was the old men's idea. Looking at Heavenly Lord Ji's current attitude, it seemed that he had already known about this. In that case, what happened later, such as the destruction of the beast race and the sea race, and the defeat of Yu Lao and the others, were all related to his elder brother, the Divine King, the sovereign of the human race? As for Lu Yuntian and Lu Yunfeng, one had mastered the law of life and death, comprehended the Demon King true body, and was extremely powerful. The other had the Eye of Nothingness, one of the 10 most powerful battle souls, and his strength could not be underestimated. He thought that these two would become the biggest enemies of Qin Feiyang and the others, but in the end, he was told that they were both Qin Feiyang's men. The most important thing was, the two had already infiltrated the central dynasty. It was too terrifying. It turned out that all of this had long been under the control of Qin Feiyang and the others. No wonder the people sent by the central dynasty fell in their hands one after another. Just think about it. If it were you, surrounded by Qin Feiyang's men. How could you not fail? After a long time, Ji Yunhai took a deep breath, looked at the king and said, "Elder brother, tell me." The king smiled and said, "I know that the elixir that opened the gate of potential and the ultimate meaning of fusion. Where did they come from?" Ji Yunhai was stunned and said in surprise, "Could it be? That's right. They were all given to us by Qin Feiyang." The king nodded. Gasp. Ji Yunhai immediately took a breath of cold air. When he opened the gate of potential, he also thought that the biggest possibility was that it came from the central dynasty. But who would have thought that it was given to him by Qin Feiyang? It was really unexpected. Heavenly Lord Ji smiled and said, "Second uncle, there's another good news." "There's more?" Ji Yunhai was slightly stunned and frowned. "How many more things are you hiding from me?" "Don't be angry. This concerns the fate of the purple gold divine dragon race. We have to be careful. The alliance with Qin Feiyang, in the past, only my father, the God King, the human race's utmost exalt, and my great-grandfather knew about it. We didn't even tell that good-for-nothing son of mine." Heavenly Lord Ji smiled apologetically. "Then I'm not an outsider." Ji Yunhai frowned. "Of course you're not an outsider, but you used to hate Qin Feiyang to the core. Would we dare to tell you?" Heavenly Lord Ji smiled bitterly. Ji Yunhai fell silent. Based on his attitude towards Qin Feiyang in the past, it was reasonable for him to be wary of him. "Wait, are you and your father testing my attitude by having a heart-to-heart talk with me today?" Ji Yunhai frowned. Yes, the two of them did not deny it, because it was obvious. If they denied it, it would be more hypocritical. Ji Yunhai's face darkened and he said angrily, "If my attitude towards Qin Feiyang is the same as before, will you continue to hide it from me?" "Of course." The father and son nodded. The corner of Ji Yunhai's mouth twitched. They really didn't hide it at all. "The good news I'm going to tell you now has nothing to do with Qin Feiyang." Heavenly Lord Ji smiled and turned to look at the king. The king nodded with a dark face. Heavenly Lord Ji was delighted. He looked at Ji Yunhai and said, "My father and I want you to temporarily be the leader of the purple gold divine dragons." "What?" Ji Yunhai stood up again and looked at Heavenly Lord Ji in shock. What was the father and son doing today? "Don't overreact. I'll tell you in detail." Heavenly Lord Ji comforted Ji Yunhai and then told him about faking his death in detail. "I see." Ji Yunhai nodded in realization and said in a deep voice, "Looks like my decision was correct. Right now, Dong Qingyuan will make a move against Lu Yunfeng and his brother's relatives. Although these relatives are all fake, it is enough to prove their viciousness. In the future, it is hard to guarantee that they won't make a move against our purple gold divine dragon clan." "That's right. Those people from the central dynasty only have themselves in their eyes. Like us, they'll use us when we're valuable. When we lose our value, they'll probably abandon us like dirt." Heavenly Lord Ji shook his head and sighed. "But, are you confident? The central dynasty's strength has always been unfathomable." Ji Yunhai was worried. "We'll know the power of the central dynasty soon. As for whether we're a match for them, second uncle, we still don't know who's stronger in the real battle." Heavenly Lord Ji smirked. "What plans do you have?" Ji Yunhai looked at the confident Heavenly Lord Ji and couldn't help but ask. "Qin Feiyang gave our three races 3,000 ultimate profundities of ultimate laws. As long as we use these 3,000 ultimate profundities of ultimate laws to the greatest effect, our three races will be able to nurture at least 6,000 experts with the will of the heavenly way. And Qin Feiyang isn't idle either. He's also cultivating the people around him. Not to mention the others, just the 6,000 dark guards around him will be a terrifying army as long as they have the will of the great path." Heavenly Lord Ji said. Ji Yunhai's heart trembled. It turned out that Qin Feiyang had been secretly preparing for a rainy day. It seemed that overthrowing the Lord's rule wasn't completely hopeless. "Second brother, this is what we're going to talk about today. Now, you're also an insider. You can't reveal any flaws. And remember, you can't reveal this to anyone, not even your grandson Ji Shaoi. Do you understand?" The king warned. "Understood." Ji Yunhai nodded. Anyone who wasn't a fool knew how serious this matter was. Once it was exposed, not only the purple gold divine dragons, but also the human race and the god race would be destroyed. Chapter 4291. Dong. Suddenly, there was a knock on the door. The king and the other two looked at each other. Who would come looking for them in the middle of the night? The king waved his hand, and the soundproof barrier dissipated. The three of them adjusted their emotions and leaned back in their seats. "Who is it?" the king asked. "Sir, it's me." A familiar voice sounded. It was Old Wu. "What is this old thing doing here in the middle of the night?" Heavenly Lord Ji raised his eyebrows. "Who knows?" The king shrugged. "Should I leave for a while?" Ji Yunhai asked secretly. "Why should I leave?" The king sneered and said, "Come in." The door opened, and a red-haired old man rushed in. Who else could it be but Old Wu? Seeing that Ji Yunhai was also there, Old Wu was stunned. When he came back to his senses, he said with a smile, "Brother Yunhai is also here?" "Yes. I'm reporting some clan affairs to Big Brother." Ji Yunhai nodded. Heavenly Lord Ji had mentioned that Old Wu was a spy before, but at this moment, Ji Yunhai didn't have any hostility towards Old Wu. "It's so late, and you're still reporting affairs. Brother Yunhai, you're really working hard." Old Wu smiled hoarsely. "Look at what you're saying. As a direct descendant of the Purple Gold Divine Dragon clan, it's my duty to work for the clan." Ji Yunhai waved his hand and smiled. He said suspiciously, "But you came here in the middle of the night. What's the matter?" "Yes." Old Wu nodded and said in a deep voice, "Just a while ago, a video suddenly spread in the 4 continents." "Video?" The king and the other two looked at each other and understood. It must be the video that Old Wu recorded in Blue Sun Mountain. "What video?" The king was puzzled. Old Wu took out the divine voice stone and waved his hand. A video slowly unfolded in the void. It was indeed the scene that happened in Blue Sun Mountain. "What's going on? Who recorded this video?" Heavenly Lord Ji was shocked and quickly asked. "I don't know. I also just received this video. And there's a rumor that the 3 people in Blue Sun Mountain are Lu Yuntian and Ling Yunfei's father, grandfather, and great-grandfather." Old Wu said. He was present at the scene and naturally knew that the Qin Feiyang in the video was Heavenly Lord Ji impersonating him. However, he definitely wouldn't dare to say it in front of Heavenly Lord Ji. This was because neither the king nor Heavenly Lord Ji had told him that Heavenly Lord Ji had impersonated Qin Feiyang. Therefore, if Old Wu expressed that he knew about this, it would be equivalent to admitting that Dong Laifu was involved. In short, regardless of whether it was the monarch's trio or Old Wu, they were all playing dumb. What? Lu Yuntian's father, grandfather, great-grandfather? They actually have living relatives. The monarch was surprised. "I've just received this news. I'm quite surprised as well." Moreover, they are all hidden experts who have grasped the will of the heavenly Tao. Old Wu nodded. No wonder he could raise such an outstanding son. However, this Qin Feiyang is really crazy. He actually went to kill their relatives. This time, Lu Yuntian and Lu Yunfeng will definitely go crazy. The king sighed. "Yes." Old Wu nodded. The monarch waved his hand and said, "All right, we already know about this matter. Keep an eye on the situation outside at all times." "Okay." Old Wu responded respectfully and turned to leave the hall. Heavenly Lord Ji snorted coldly. "This has already caused an uproar. I really didn't expect this old man to be so efficient." The news was spread by Old Wu's arrangement. "Don't worry. The bigger this matter is now, the harder it will be to clean it up. Send a message to Qin Feiyang and the others. We can start the operation now." The monarch smiled coldly. "Okay." Heavenly Lord Ji nodded. As for Old Wu, after returning to his residence, he immediately took out the divine voice stone. Buzz. Soon, 2 figures appeared. They were Dong Qingyuan and Dong Laifu. "Greetings, Lord." Old Wu bowed respectfully to Dong Qingyuan. "Yes." Dong Qingyuan nodded and asked, "How's the task I assigned to you?" "Don't worry, Lord. The news has already spread in the 4 great continents." Old Wu responded respectfully. "Good." Dong Qingyuan smiled satisfactorily. Dong Laifu's eyes flashed. He looked at Old Wu and asked, "Did you go to the monarch and the others?" "Yes." When the monarch and heavenly Lord Ji heard this, they pretended not to know. Old Wu nodded. They didn't even tell you the truth. It seems that they are really tight-lipped. Dong Lifu chuckled. That's right. Dong Lifu deliberately arranged for Old Wu to meet the monarch. He wanted to sound out the monarch and heavenly Lord Ji. Because Old Wu was the monarch's confidant, the monarch might tell Old Wu the truth. The so-called Qin Feiyang was heavenly Lord Ji in disguise. But the monarch and heavenly Lord Ji didn't mention a word before. Dong Lifu was completely relieved. After all, if the monarch and heavenly Lord Ji didn't even tell a confidant like Old Wu, they wouldn't tell anyone else. Now, let's wait for a good show. Dong Qingyuan chuckled. His old eyes were full of playfulness. At the same time, Black Tortoise whirled. Qin Feiyang and the other two also received heavenly Lord Ji's message. Hearing the words can start the operation, the corners of their mouths lifted slightly. Moreover, they also chatted with Ji Yunhai officially as allies. At first, Ji Yunhai was still not used to this kind of relationship. Although he agreed to form an alliance with Qin Feiyang and the others, so many things had happened in the past. There must be some estrangement in his heart. It would probably take some time for this estrangement to completely disappear. Frenzy shook his head and said, "To be honest, Ji Yunhai's attitude really surprised me." "Yes." White-eyed Wolf nodded. After pondering for a while, he frowned and said, "But, can Ji Yunhai really be trusted? Since the monarch and heavenly Lord Ji already believe him, then we don't need to doubt him anymore. Moreover, the monarch and heavenly Lord Ji aren't stupid. They won't do things that they aren't confident in." Qin Feiyang smiled. "I definitely believe the monarch and uncle. But this Ji Yunhai, although he has formed an alliance with us now, what if he suddenly changes his stance in the future?" White-eyed Wolf was a bit worried. Hearing this, Frenzy couldn't help but frown. White-eyed Wolf's concern wasn't without reason. After all, Ji Yunhai wasn't the monarch, nor was he the divine king or the supreme of the human race. His stance might not be so firm. "I think I'm already suspicious enough. I didn't expect you guys to be even more suspicious than me. Do you still remember what we said before we gave the monarch and the others the 3,000 ultimate mysteries? We must control these people." Ji Yunhai is definitely no exception. After all, Ji Yunhai's attitude wasn't clear in the past. The monarch definitely wouldn't be at ease with him. Qin Feiyang smiled slightly. "You mean Ji Yunhai is now controlled by the monarch?" White-eyed Wolf asked. "I don't think it's possible. I believe the monarch can control others, but to control Ji Yunhai, they are brothers after all." Frenzy said, "You're underestimating the monarch. As the monarch of the divine kingdom, how could he be an indecisive person? Moreover, whether it's the pill to unlock the door of potential or the 1,000 ultimate mysteries, they are all related to the fate of the purple gold divine dragon clan. Would he dare to be careless? Even if he dares, that group of old men won't allow it." Qin Feiyang smiled. "That's true. Those old men are all ruthless people." White-eyed Wolf and Frenzy nodded. Qin Feiyang said, "Then get ready to move. First, send a message to the supreme of the human race and find out where Dong Lifu lives." Indeed, as Ji Yunhai said, Dong Qingyuan and Dong Lifu were now surrounded by Qin Feiyang's people. It would be hard for them not to win. What? All of this was a trap set up by you guys? When the supreme of the human race heard this, his face was full of surprise. "You didn't know about this?" Qin Feiyang was stunned. "I didn't know. Dong Lifu and Dong Qingyuan never said anything about this. I only found out about Heavenly Lord Ji going to Blue Sun Mountain just now." The supreme of the human race shook his head. "Looks like they've done a good job of keeping it a secret." Qin Feiyang smiled. "They're all ruthless people." The supreme of the human race sighed. He looked at Qin Feiyang and the other two and said, "Dong Lifu and Dong Qingyuan both live in the back of Mount Supreme. I'll tell you the route and location. But when the time comes, you have to be gentle. Mount Supreme can't take your torment anymore." We will." The three nodded. "Why do I feel like I'm the plague in the eyes of the supreme of the human race?" Actually, they didn't want to go to Mount Supreme either. But there was nothing they could do. After all, Dong Qingyuan and Dong Qingyuan lived in Mount Supreme. Just as the supreme of the human race told Qin Feiyang and the other two the exact route and location, an angry roar suddenly sounded from Mount Supreme. Qin Feiyang, how dare you kill my family? I'll kill you and make you pay with your blood. It was the roar of the inner demons. Then, two terrifying murderous auras suddenly exploded, shocking everyone. One was the inner demons, the other was Lu Jiajin. The supreme of the human race looked outside the window and smiled at Qin Feiyang and the other two. The show is about to start. I'll go out and take a look. Don't come over for now, because Dong Laifu must be with Dong Qingyun right now. Okay, let them be proud for a few days. Qin Feiyang nodded, his eyes full of ridicule. Dong Qingyun, you want to play, right? Fine, I'm in a good mood now. I'll play with you. End of chapter. Chapter 4292. The transmission ended. The ingrate muttered to himself for a while. He looked at Qin Feiyang in confusion and asked, I have a question that has always puzzled me. Why don't we just find a chance to kill Dong Qingyun? Why do we have to go through so much trouble? He didn't believe that Dong Qingyun would hide in Mount Supreme forever. Furthermore, even if Dong Qingyun was hiding in Mount Supreme forever, Mount Supreme wouldn't be able to protect Dong Qingyun. Killing him directly wouldn't be effective. Qin Feiyang smiled. What effect? The white-eyed wolf was surprised. Do you think I'm going through so much trouble just to kill Dong Laifu and Old Man Wu? Qin Feiyang turned to look at the ingrate and said with a smile. The white-eyed wolf paused for a bit and asked curiously, what other plans do you have? Last time, Dong Tianqin used the nation lord to threaten the central dynasty. Think about it. If the world knew that Dong Qingyun killed brother Lu Yuntian's family in order to achieve his goal, how would the people of the four great continents react? Qin Feiyang said with a mocking expression. The mad demon and the white-eyed wolf looked at each other and realized what was going on. They were planning to ruin the central dynasty's reputation. Indeed, last time, Dong Tianqin used the king as a hostage, which already made the three races unhappy. If this matter was exposed again, the central dynasty's reputation would definitely plummet. This way, the king and the others would have a better foundation to fight against the central dynasty in the future. That's why we have to make a big deal out of this. The bigger the deal, the better the effect. Qin Feiyang smiled. Cunning. Heard. The white-eyed wolf and the mad demon looked at Qin Feiyang with disdain, but their faces were full of cunning smiles. At the same time, Mount Supreme. The human race put away the message Godstone and quickly walked outside. He looked at the inner demons and Lu Jiajin from afar. Both of them were filled with murderous intent. Please calm down. The human race's eyes flashed and comforted them. Calm down? Even Qin Feiyang went to Mount Qingyang and killed all of our loved ones. How do you expect us to calm down? Pass down the order immediately. Whoever can find them will be rewarded with a Dominator divine weapon. The inner demons roared. Sovereign weapon. Hearing this, all the disciples on Mount Supreme were tempted. We'll do our best. The supreme martial artist of the human race nodded and laughed in his heart. These two brats were also good actors. Their acting was quite good. Inform us immediately if there's any news. The inner demons opened a space-time tunnel. Where are you going? The supreme master of the human race hurriedly asked. We can't just wait here. The inner demon looked at him gloomily and followed Lu Jiajin into the space-time tunnel without looking back. Very soon, another piece of news spread throughout the four great continents. Lu Yuntian and Lu Yunfeng arrived at Qingtian City and declared war on Qin Feiyang and the others. Mount Supreme, Back Mountain. Dong Qingyun chuckled. The effect is not bad. Yes, this time, the two brothers will definitely fight to the death with Qin Feiyang and the others. Let's just wait and watch a good show. Dong Laifu nodded. His face was also full of a smug smile. This was the plan he came up with. It was simply perfect. No matter how smart Qin Feiyang was, he probably couldn't do anything about it. In the blink of an eye, 3 days passed. These 3 days were quite lively. Everyone's eyes were gathered on Qingtian City, because the inner demons and Lu Jiajin had been standing in the sky above Qingtian City. Their terrifying auras enveloped heaven and earth, making the atmosphere here seem particularly heavy. Everyone was looking forward to whether Qin Feiyong and the others would come to fight or not. Logically speaking, Qin Feiyong and the others were extremely powerful. It was impossible for them to be afraid of Lu Yuntian and Lu Yunfeng. Moreover, since Qin Feiyong dared to go to Mount Qingyang to kill Lu Yunfeng and Lu Yunfeng's family, he definitely wouldn't be afraid to fight. But it had already been 3 days. Why hadn't he appeared yet? Just on this night, 3 black figures sneaked into the back of Mount Supreme without anyone noticing. The entrance of the back mountain was guarded, but even so, no one discovered them, because these 3 people were Qin Feiyong, Frenzy, and White-Eyed Wolf. They didn't discover them because they had activated the concealment technique and were in a state of invisibility. As long as their invisibility wasn't broken, even if they were standing in front of you, you wouldn't be able to sense their existence. The environment of the back mountain was also very good. Green mountains and clear waters, green plants and trees. A lake was located in the hinterland of the back mountain. The lake water rippled under the moonlight. At this time, it was late at night. The slightest noise would alarm others, so Qin Feiyong and the others were very careful. Around the lake, there were exquisite pavilions with an antique style. These pavilions were located in the hinterland of the back mountain. They were specially set up for VIPs. Ordinary people didn't have the qualifications to step into the back mountain even if they wanted to. At this moment, among these pavilions, there were only 6 that had candlelight flickering. These 6 pavilions were where Dong Qingyuan, Dong Laifu, Dong Tianqian, Dong Xian, Dong Ping, and Dong Qin lived. The inner demons and Lu Jiajin also lived here. But now they were in Qingtian City, so the house was pitch black. According to the human race's supreme being, Dong Laifu lived next door to Dong Qingyuan. Dong Tianqian, Dong Xian, and Dong Ping lived on the other side. As for Dong Qin, Dong Tianqian and the others naturally couldn't continue to live with her now. And Dong Qin was also worried that Dong Tianqian and the others would harm her. After all, a few days ago, she set them up in front of Dong Qingyuan and Dong Laifu. So, she also lived next door to Dong Laifu. In this case, even if Dong Tianqian and the others wanted to take revenge on her, they would have some reservations. Although it was their first time coming to the back mountain, Qin Feiyong and the others were very familiar with the human race's supreme being. After a while, they arrived in front of Dong Laifu's pavilion. The door of the pavilion was closed. They could vaguely sense Dong Laifu's aura. The 3 of them raised their heads and looked at a window on the 2nd floor. The candlelight came from this window. Dong Laifu's aura was also in that room. This old thing. I'm afraid he would never think that we would be so bold as to directly sneak into the back mountain of Mount Supreme. The white-eyed wolf snickered. He definitely wouldn't think of it. Even if it were us, we wouldn't think of it either. Lunatic bared his teeth. After all, this was Mount Supreme, the sacred land of the human race. No matter how strong or bold he was, he wouldn't dare to break in here. Let's go in. Quickly take him down. Don't make any noise. Qin Feiyong's eyes flashed. Understood. The 2 of them nodded. After all, the human race's supreme being had told them not to make a fuss here. So, the 3 of them entered the Black Tortoise realm and stealthily entered the room through the crack of the window on the 2nd floor. Everything in the room immediately entered the 3's line of sight. The decoration inside was quite luxurious. Every piece of furniture was made of 10,000-year-old Phoebe Jinan wood. Even the candlesticks were made of pure gold, as expected of a place used to entertain distinguished guests. In the middle of the room, there was a praying mat. A black-robed old man was squatting on the praying mat with his eyes closed, not noticing that someone had intruded. It was Dong Laifu. And on the ground, Qin Feiyong and the other 2 could clearly sense the aura of the time array. Obviously, Dong Laifu was here to reconstruct his soul and body. Qin Feiyong's eyes flashed as he took out an illusory form pill and quickly changed into Dong Qingyuan's appearance. Cough cough, then. He cleared his throat, looked at the 2 of them, and laughed hoarsely. I'll go out alone. Even his voice was exactly the same as Dong Qingyuan's. All right. The 2 of them nodded with a smirk. Qin Feiyong took a step forward and immediately appeared in the room. Dong Laifu was slightly stunned. He opened his eyes and looked at Dong Qingyuan in front of him. Why did his lord come to his room silently? Greetings, lord. He hurriedly stood up and bowed in greeting. Let's go. Follow me to a place. Qin Feiyong said hoarsely. Where are we going? Dong Lifu was suspicious. It must be a secret place. Otherwise, why would I come to find you quietly? Qin Feiyong laughed. All right. Dong Lifu nodded. Qin Feiyong waved his hand, rolled up Dong Lifu, and instantly disappeared without a trace. The entire process was very smooth. Dong Qingyuan and Dong Qin next door were completely unaware. Black Tortoise Realm. Inside the castle, Dong Lifu stood in the cultivation room in a daze, looking at the cultivation room, and asked suspiciously, My lord, what is this place? It doesn't seem to be your space divine object. Qin Feiyong chuckled. Of course this is not your lord's space divine object. When Dong Lifu heard this, he immediately stared at Qin Feiyong. Because at this moment, Qin Feiyong's voice was no longer concealed, and Dong Lifu was extremely familiar with it. At this moment, the stone door of the cultivation room opened, and the madman and the white-eyed wolf also ran in. The moment he saw the two of them, Dong Lifu's expression changed. That's right. This is my Qin Feiyong's space divine object. The corner of Qin Feiyong's mouth raised, and he took a facial restoration pill, immediately restoring his true appearance. Damn it! Dong Lifu's eyes trembled, and he hurriedly rushed towards the stone door in horror. You still want to escape after coming here? The white-eyed wolf waved his hand, and the stone door immediately closed. Looking at the closed stone door, Dong Lifu suddenly felt despair to the extreme. You guys take good care of this guest first. Qin Feiyong looked at Dong Lifu with a playful smile, and then instantly appeared in the medicine field, and then controlled the Black Tortoise Realm, ready to leave the back mountain. But suddenly, he lowered his head again and pondered. Since he had already come to the back mountain, should he also take Dong Qin away? In this way, it could be considered as solving a problem for Dong Tianqin and the other two. Let's do it. He immediately controlled the Black Tortoise Realm and flew to Dong Qin's attic. It was also on the second floor. Dong Qin sat alone by the bed, looking at a jade pendant in her hand, her eyes full of longing. This jade pendant was the size of a baby's palm, completely flawless, and was fiery red. There were 2 words engraved on it, Han Sect. Really infatuated. Qin Feiyong muttered, and used the same trick again, turning into Dong Qingyuan's appearance, and appeared in the room with a swoosh. Master? Dong Qin was taken aback, and hurriedly got up and bowed. Are you used to it? Qin Feiyong said with a kind smile. Thank you for your concern, Master. I'm used to it. Dong Qin nodded. End of chapter. Chapter 4293. Qin Feiyong looked at the jade pendant in Dong Qin's hand inside. Follow me to a place. What place? Dong Qin was suspicious. As your teacher, I know Dong Tianqin's character too well. This time you offended them, they won't let you go so easily. So, you should stay in my spatial divine item. It will be safer. Qin Feiyong said. Thank you, teacher. Dong Qin was overjoyed. As long as she could enter her teacher's spatial divine item, Dong Tianqin and the other two wouldn't have a chance to kill her. Is there anything you need to pack? Qin Feiyong asked. Dong Qin looked at the jade pendant in her hand and shook her head. No. Qin Feiyong faintly smiled. With a wave of his hand, Dong Qin also instantly disappeared without a trace. I really have the talent to be a movie king. Qin Feiyong smirked and immediately entered the Black Tortoise Realm. Then, he controlled the Black Tortoise Realm and quietly left. In the cultivation room, Dong Lifu had been tortured to death by the white-eyed wolf. But suddenly, another figure appeared. The two of them were stunned and turned their heads to look. Their expressions froze. Why would this woman come to the cultivation room? That's right. This woman was Dong Qin. At the same time, Dong Qin looked at the madman and the white-eyed wolf and couldn't help but be stunned. What's going on? Isn't this teacher's spatial divine item? Why are these two guys here too? Uncle Fu? When she saw Dong Lifu, her expression froze again. Why were you tricked by them? Dong Lifu shouted. Tricked? Dong Qin's delicate body trembled and immediately looked at the madman and the white-eyed wolf. With a glance, her expression changed. The madman and the white-eyed wolf were pouncing towards her. "Get lost!" She suddenly roared and her aura surged out. However, it was still a step too late. The white-eyed wolf's palm hit Dong Qin's lower abdomen. Accompanied by a scream, Dong Qin's sea of qi shattered on the spot, and she spat out a mouthful of blood. "You still want to cause trouble in the Black Tortoise realm?" The madman looked at her mockingly. "This is the Black Tortoise realm?" Dong Qin's eyes trembled, her face deathly pale. "That's right. Right now, we are in the Black Tortoise realm. This is Qin Feiyang's spatial divine item." Dong Lifu exclaimed. Who would have thought that someone who had been smart all his life would be foolish at this moment? He was actually deceived by such a small trick. What a great humiliation. Outside, a moment passed. Qin Feiyang successfully left Mount Supreme. To him, capturing the two powerhouses was a piece of cake. After all, he had the help of the human race's supreme being. Following closely, he went to Qingtian City. However, he didn't show himself. He just watched from afar. Some time ago, Dong Tianqin's group of 4 had fought the mad scientist and the white-eyed wolf, destroying the entire Qingtian City. However, after the battle, it had been rebuilt. Moreover, the scale was even larger than before. At this moment, Qin Feiyang could clearly sense that the number of people gathered in Qingtian City was much greater than before. Obviously, many people were here to join in the fun. In the sky, the inner demons and Lu Jiajin had always been filled with hostility. Ordinary people didn't dare to approach them. After watching for a while, Qin Feiyang quietly left and entered the Black Tortoise realm. Although only a short while had passed outside, many years had passed in the Black Tortoise realm. The white-eyed wolf and the mad scientist were drinking in the tea garden. "Why aren't you guys keeping an eye on the cultivation room?" Qin Feiyang frowned. The white-eyed wolf said in disdain, "Dong Qin's qi has been destroyed and her Qinkuan ring has been confiscated by us. Needless to say, Dong Lifu only has a little bit of his soul left. Do you still need us to keep an eye on him?" "I see." Qin Feiyang suddenly understood and asked curiously, "Then did you find anything valuable in her Qinkuan ring?" "For example?" The white-eyed wolf asked back. "For example, the inheritance of the ultimate profound." Qin Feiyang said, "You always say that we're money grubbers, but I think you're the money grubber. There's no inheritance, but there's a lot of law miniatures. They're not valuable." The white-eyed wolf pursed his lips. Qin Feiyang was stunned. The law miniatures were not valuable? This guy was really arrogant. Did he forget how many cruel battles they went through to snatch the law miniatures in the Skybell Divine Treasury? These things could be left to the beings of the Black Tortoise realm because to the beings of the Black Tortoise realm, they were priceless treasures. "Give all the useful things to the Fire Lotus," Qin Feiyang said. "Got it. I've already given them to her." The white-eyed wolf waved his hand. "Then let's go and meet Dong Qin and Dong Lifu. I really want to know what they were plotting with Dong Qingyuan in the hall." A radiant light flashed in Qin Feiyang's eyes as he strode towards the ancient castle. They entered the cultivation room. The three of them saw Dong Lifu sitting in the corner. He didn't even have the mood to reconstruct his body and divine soul. His face was filled with despair. Dong Qin kept her head down and looked at the jade pendant in her hand. Her eyes were empty. "What's there to look at?" The white-eyed wolf stepped forward and snatched the jade pendant. He mocked, "No matter how you look at it, Dong Hanzong is a lonely soul and he won't come to save you. Give it back to me." Dong Qin immediately got up and pounced on the white-eyed wolf. The white-eyed wolf kicked Dong Qin, and she was sent flying. She slammed into the wall and blood flowed from the corner of her mouth. But she was unaware of all this. She immediately got up and pounced on the white-eyed wolf, as if the jade pendant was the only thing in her eyes. "You care so much? Believe it or not, I'll crush it right now." The white-eyed wolf bared his teeth. "Don't." Dong Qin's expression stiffened, and she quickly stopped and begged, "Don't destroy it. I beg you. Give it back to me." Sigh. Looking at Dong Qin's appearance, Qin Feiyang shook his head inside. He looked at the white-eyed wolf and said, Give it back to her. The white-eyed wolf pursed his lips and threw the jade pendant to Dong Qin. Dong Qin hurriedly grabbed it and looked left, right, up and down. After confirming that it was not damaged, she carefully put it in her arms. The madman frowned and said, I don't believe that you don't know what kind of person Dong Hanzong is. Is such a man really worth your sacrifice? Even at the expense of offending Dong Tianqian? You emotionless, cold-blooded animals won't understand. Dong Qin sneered. We are emotionless, cold-blooded animals? The madman and the white-eyed wolf heard this and couldn't help but want to laugh. In terms of feelings, who could compare with them? They were both men who were loyal to their feelings. Dong Qin looked at Qin Feiyang and the other two as if she was facing death calmly and said, Since I've fallen into your hands, I admit defeat. You can kill me or torture me as you wish. The white-eyed wolf's eyes flashed with murderous intent and slapped her. Dong Qin's expression didn't change at all. It seems that it won't be easy to pry open her mouth. The white-eyed wolf retracted his arm and looked at Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang looked at Dong Laifu. His mouth is also very stubborn. After torturing him for so long, he still didn't say anything. The white-eyed wolf was helpless. I still have this bit of backbone. Dong Laifu looked at the three of them ferociously. Qin Feiyang glanced at the two and said with a faint smile, Do you think that I can't do anything to you if you don't speak? The two's pupils shrank. Qin Feiyang turned to the white-eyed wolf and said with a smile, Go and invite Long Chun here. Okay. The white-eyed wolf bared his teeth and turned to leave quickly. When Dong Laifu heard that he was going to invite Long Chun, his body suddenly trembled and he quickly said, Wait. He had long known that Long Chun had mastered the soul-controlling technique and could control living creatures and deprive them of the ultimate profound. Once he was really controlled by Long Chun, he would definitely not be able to keep the ultimate profound that he had mastered. Are you willing to speak? The white-eyed wolf turned his head and looked at him mockingly. I'll speak. I'll tell you everything. Dong Laifu nodded. Haha, I thought how tough your bones were. The white-eyed wolf laughed loudly, full of ridicule. Dong Laifu lowered his head in shame and said weakly, But you have to promise me that you won't kill me and you won't deprive me of the ultimate profound. The white-eyed wolf was stunned and said playfully, Do you think that you are still qualified to negotiate with us now? Dong Laifu was silent. Since he had already fallen into the hands of these people, how could he be qualified to negotiate? However, if he wanted to live, he had to put forward these conditions. Qin Feiyang looked at Dong Laifu for a moment and laughed. I don't want to trouble Long Chun with everything. As long as you answer my questions truthfully, I can consider giving you a way out. Thank you. Ask away. I'll tell you everything I know. Dong Laifu said. Dong Qin stared at Dong Laifu and said angrily, You coward! Hearing this, Dong Laifu's face suddenly became incomparably ferocious and roared. If you want to die, then die by yourself. Don't implicate me. Ha. This is the person that teacher trusts. How ridiculous. Even a dog knows how to be loyal. You're even worse than a dog. Dong Qin laughed. You. Dong Laifu stared at Dong Qin with a hateful look. But suddenly, for some reason, a smile crawled onto his face as he looked at Dong Qin and said, Do you think Dong Hanzong will really come to save you? Let me tell you, he doesn't have the guts. Shut up. When Dong Qin heard this, she immediately roared at Dong Laifu and glanced at Qin Feiyang and the other two, looking rather flustered. Qin Feiyang and the other two were stunned. What did that mean? Dong Hanzong had already become a lonely ghost. How could he still come to save Dong Qin? Dong Laifu looked at Qin Feiyang and the other two, then looked at Dong Qin and sneered. You don't want me to say it, right? I will say it. You dare. Dong Qin roared and pounced towards Dong Laifu crazily. The white-eyed wolf's face sank. He took a step forward, grabbed Dong Qin's arm, and threw her to the side, and said in a deep voice, Let me tell you, if you dare to pester endlessly, I will destroy you. Come on, do you think I'm afraid of you? Dong Qin moved closer. You're really challenging my limits. The white-eyed wolf's killing intent soared, and with a kick, the power of law surged, causing Dong Qin to scream miserably. Her body shattered on the spot, and blood dyed the entire training room red. You better remember, we are not Dong Ping. Killing you is as easy as crushing an ant. Madman looked at Dong Qin and said, My jade pendant. Dong Qin's soul hurriedly searched the ground, but after searching the entire training room, she could not find the jade pendant. It seemed that it had been destroyed along with her body. At this moment, she collapsed on the ground, her face filled with pain. Dong Tianqian, Dong Ping, and Dong Xin didn't tell us such important information? The white-eyed wolf suddenly roared. Why would they tell you? Because this matter is also beneficial to them. At that time, if Dong Hanzong is able to successfully launch a sneak attack on you all and kill you all, then your control over them will naturally be resolved. Dong Laifu said. The white-eyed wolf was taken aback and sneered. It seems that they have a lot of tricks up their sleeves. I told you, these three can't be left alive. The mad scientist's eyes flashed with killing intent. I didn't plan to let them live. Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed with a cold light. He originally planned to kill these three when the ruler of the Divine Kingdom returned, but now it seemed that he had to deal with them as soon as possible. Otherwise, they would become a disaster sooner or later. Qin Feiyang asked, Then tell me, how many people does Dong Qingyun have in the Death God Army? You even know about the Death God Army? Dong Laifu looked at Qin Feiyang in shock. The mad scientist sneered. Dong Tianqian is already under our control. How can this kind of thing be hidden from us? Dong Laifu nodded and shook his head. I don't know the exact number of the Death God Army. You don't know? The three were stunned. Their eyes were as sharp as blades, emitting a shocking sharpness. I'm not lying. I really don't know. Dong Laifu hurriedly waved his hand and explained, The Death God Army is very mysterious. In the entire Central Dynasty, other than the ruler, the emperor, and Dong Qingyuan, no one else knows about it. But aren't you Dong Qingyuan's confidant? The white-eyed wolf frowned. I am Dong Qingyuan's confidant, but the emperor has clearly ordered that no one else knows about the Death God Army. Dong Qingyuan doesn't dare to disobey the emperor's orders. Therefore, every time Dong Qingyuan went to meet the members of the Death God Legion, he went alone. Dong Laifu explained. So mysterious. Qin Feiyang and the other two could not help but frown. They thought that they would be able to find out about the Death God Army by capturing Dong Laifu alive. But now it seemed that they still needed the inner demons and Big Cousin. Furthermore, even if Dong Qingyuan had removed his guard against the inner demons and Big Cousin, it would not be that easy to find out about the Death God Army. After all, Dong Qingyuan did not even reveal a word to Dong Laifu, his confidant. It seems that in order to sneak into the Death God Army or come into contact with the Death God Army, the emperor has to agree. Dong Qingyuan doesn't have the final say. The inner demons and Big Cousin. This is a difficult task. The white-eyed wolf sighed. What kind of terrifying army was this? Why did they have to be so secretive? Let's take it slow. Qin Feiyang sighed inwardly. He looked at the two of them and said, Do you have any other questions? The white-eyed wolf lowered his head and pondered for a while. Suddenly, there was a trace of a sneaky smile in his eyes. He looked at Dong Laifu and said, Does your emperor have a daughter? And? Dong Laifu looked at the white-eyed wolf in astonishment. Qin Feiyang and Frenzy also looked at him suspiciously. Why did he suddenly ask this? Speak. The white-eyed wolf shouted with a cold face. Yes. Dong Laifu quickly nodded. The white-eyed wolf's expression softened. He asked in a sneaky manner, Is she beautiful? Dong Laifu looked at the white-eyed wolf in astonishment again. Hey, are you looking for death? The white-eyed wolf said angrily, Beautiful, beautiful. Her Royal Highness is known as the #1 beauty of the Central Dynasty. Dong Laifu quickly nodded. #1 beauty? Is this for real? Don't tell me everyone is flattering her. The white-eyed wolf expressed his doubts. Regarding this question, I dare to swear that it is absolutely not fake. Your Highness, you are so beautiful that you can topple a city, Dong Laifu said. If that's the case, the white-eyed wolf turned to look at Qin Feiyang and Frenzy and said, Does Big Cousin really like this princess? Otherwise, why hasn't he confessed to Fire Lotus yet? Qin Feiyang and Frenzy were speechless when they heard this. They were wondering what he was going to do. In the end, it turned out that he was struggling with this question. Feelings weren't something that could happen just because he said so. There had to be a process. Although Lu Jiejin and Fire Lotus had known each other for a long time, the two of them hadn't really interacted much. How could Lu Jiejin confess like this? The eunuch was more anxious than the emperor. This sentence was indeed true. Qin Feiyang looked at the two and said, "If there are no other questions, then let's get ready to move." "Okay." Frenzy nodded. But suddenly, he stretched out his hand and said, "Wait." Qin Feiyang looked at him suspiciously. Frenzy pondered for a while and looked at Dong Laifu. Did Dong Qingyuan leave his divine soul in the Central Dynasty? How is that possible? In the Central Dynasty, he is an existence that is second only to one person. His pride and arrogance wouldn't allow him to do such a thing, Dong Laifu said. That's good. Frenzy nodded and smiled. This way, killing Dong Qingyuan in the future wouldn't be in vain. Qin Feiyang pondered for a while and said with a smile, "Since you asked this, then let's ask about Dong Qingyuan's strength. How is Dong Qingyuan's strength?" "His strength? Definitely stronger than me. Also, he has a pinnacle sovereign divine weapon," Dong Laifu said. "What? A pinnacle sovereign divine weapon?" Qin Feiyang and the other two were shocked. Low, middle, high. After high was the pinnacle sovereign divine weapon. They didn't expect Dong Qingyuan to be hiding such a terrifying sovereign divine weapon. Dong Laifu said enviously, "It is said that this sovereign divine weapon was personally given to Dong Qingyuan by the sovereign. Its lethality is extremely terrifying." "Pinnacle," Qin Feiyang muttered as he looked at Frenzy and the white-eyed wolf. He frowned and said, "In that case, we have underestimated the origin energy of the divine kingdom?" "It seems so." The two nodded. In the past, they thought that the origin energy of the divine kingdom could only create a high-grade sovereign divine weapon at most. If that was the case, the Black Tortoise Realm would soon catch up to the divine kingdom, because the current Black Tortoise Realm could already create a mid-grade sovereign divine weapon. As long as it grew another level, it would be comparable to the divine kingdom. But they didn't expect a pinnacle sovereign divine weapon to appear now. If that was the case, the Black Tortoise Realm would have to grow another 2 levels to catch up to the divine kingdom. The amount of time needed to advance 2 levels was not an ordinary amount of time. The white-eyed wolf pondered for a while and looked at the two. "However, a pinnacle sovereign divine weapon isn't much of a threat to us." "Don't brag." "It isn't much of a threat to old Qin because he has 3,000 incarnations. But you and I aren't a match for a pinnacle sovereign divine weapon." Frenzy shook his head. 10 low-grade sovereign divine weapons were equivalent to 1 mid-grade sovereign divine weapon. 10 mid-grade sovereign divine weapons were equivalent to 1 high-grade sovereign divine weapon. 10 high-grade sovereign divine weapons were equivalent to 1 pinnacle sovereign divine weapon. In other words, 1 pinnacle sovereign divine weapon was equivalent to 1,000 low-grade sovereign divine weapons. This wasn't a small number. Even though Frenzy had a heaven-defying ability like the all-evil sword, he didn't have much confidence. The white-eyed wolf frowned as he looked at Dong Laifu and asked, "Does the Central Dynasty have a legendary sovereign divine weapon?" Legendary sovereign divine weapon was above pinnacle sovereign divine weapon. "Never heard of it. At least not as far as I know. But I don't know if Lord Sovereign has one." Dong Laifu shook his head. Because with his status, he couldn't come into contact with the sovereign of the divine kingdom. Chapter 4295. Regardless of whether the sovereign of the divine kingdom has a legendary-level sovereign divine weapon or not, this peak-level sovereign divine weapon is already ours. The madman smiled. The white-eyed wolf and Qin Feiyang looked at each other and smiled. They couldn't miss out on a peak-level sovereign divine weapon. Looking at their expressions, Dong Laifu had an indescribable feeling in his heart. What kind of people were they? It was as if there was nothing they didn't dare to do. "Come with us." Qin Feiyang looked at Dong Laifu and smiled. "Where to?" Dong Laifu was surprised. "A good place." Qin Feiyang smiled. "Can I not go?" Dong Laifu said in horror. "How could there be a good place here?" "No." Qin Feiyang shook his head. Dong Laifu curled up in the corner and said in horror, "You said you would let me go. You can't go back on your words." Qin Feiyang laughed and said, "It's not impossible to let you go, but you have to cooperate with us first." Acting? Dong Laifu was slightly stunned and asked suspiciously, "What do you mean?" Qin Feiyang joked, "You and Heavenly Lord Ji pretended to be us and went to Blue Sun Mountain to kill Lu Yuntian and Lu Yunfeng's family. We can't always be the scapegoat for this." What? Dong Laifu's eyes trembled. How did Qin Feiyang and the others know about this? We have the all-seeing eye. Is it difficult to know these things? Qin Feiyang looked at him playfully. You've been monitoring us with the all-seeing eye? Dong Laifu was shocked. It's fine as long as you know. There's no need to say it out loud. Qin Feiyang laughed. Now was not the time to reveal their cards, because many things were unpredictable. If they revealed their relationship with the inner demons now, wouldn't it be a disaster if something unexpected happened? Therefore, what should be kept a secret should be kept a secret. Dong Laifu's eyes trembled. It turned out that all of this was under the surveillance of the other party. Qin Feiyang smiled. If it wasn't for this, why would we go to Mount Supreme and capture you? All right. Dong Laifu nodded and said, I'll cooperate with you, but you must promise to let me go after this. We'll talk about it later. Qin Feiyang smiled. If you don't promise me, I won't go even if you beat me to death. Dong Laifu gritted his teeth. Really? Then I'll kill you. White-eyed Wolf's eyes flashed coldly. Even now, he still dared to bargain with them? He really didn't know what kind of situation he was in right now. Dong Laifu was terrified. What should we do with Dong Qin? White-eyed Wolf asked. Qin Feiyang glanced at Dong Qin, pondering for a moment before saying, suppress it in the soul-sealing valley first. It might be useful when dealing with Dong Hanzong. Deal with Brother Zong. Dong Qin's gaze trembled. She could not become a burden to Brother Zong. As expected, she had chosen to destroy her own soul. Humph! The ingrate snorted coldly. She reacted quickly and suppressed Dong Qin. Let me die, let me die. Dong Qin screamed as if she had gone mad. Now, even if you want to die, you'll have to ask us first. White-eyed Wolf sneered, grabbed Dong Qin, and rushed out of the castle like lightning, flying toward the soul-sealing valley. Qin Feiyang also waved his hand, sealed Dong Laifu's soul, and followed Lunatic to find Long Chun. Below a creation tree, Long Chun sat on the ground, his long hair draped over his shoulders, and his white robe was spotless. He was like the Son of God, extraordinary and refined. No. You can't go back on your words. You promised me that you won't use the soul-controlling technique to control me. Dong Laifu roared. As soon as he saw Long Chun, he knew what he was going to face. Dong Laifu's roar woke Long Chun up. What the hell? Long Chun opened his eyes and glared at Qin Feiyang and Lunatic. Cough, cough. Qin Feiyang coughed dryly and said with a smile, there's nothing else. You just have to help control him, and we'll deal with the rest. Long Chun rolled his eyes. Soul-controlling technique was activated. Soul-controlling technique was a method to directly control the soul. So even without a physical body, it could be directly controlled. The process was very smooth. After being controlled, Dong Laifu became obedient. Next, you have to listen to them. Long Chun said, Yes, Master. Dong Laifu responded respectfully. Amazing. Lunatic bared his teeth. The power of soul-controlling technique was that even if Dong Laifu became a puppet, he would still be the same as before. Unlike puppet-controlling technique, once turned into a puppet, it would be an emotionless puppet with empty eyes. Others could see this at a glance. But soul-controlling technique, if you didn't know in advance, you wouldn't be able to see that he was already controlled. Is there anything else? Long Chun asked. Lunatic was taken aback and nodded, understood. We'll get out of here immediately. Long Chun rolled his eyes. Next, Qin Feiyang went to find the mermaid princess and asked her to open the Eye of Life to help Dong Laifu reconstruct his physical body and soul. Then the two of them brought Dong Laifu into the tea garden and asked about Dong Hanzong's life and death again. Because Dong Laifu was not controlled by soul-controlling technique before, what if he was hiding something? In the end, after some questioning, It was exactly the same as before. Madman rolled his eyes and looked at Dong Lifu. Extract all of your ultimate Upanishads. Yes. Dong Lifu nodded, and without any hesitation, he immediately sat cross-legged on the ground and stripped out all the ultimate meaning. The more of these things, the better. Lunatic bared his teeth. After a while, Dong Lifu's ultimate meaning were all stripped out, and his cultivation level directly fell to the imperishable realm. The current Dong Lifu had no value to them except for the future plan. Swish. The white-eyed wolf finally returned. How is it? Qin Feiyang asked. It has been suppressed. But to be honest, this woman is really pitiful. The white-eyed wolf sighed. You can also sympathize with her? Lunatic was surprised. What do you mean? So in your eyes, I am a cold-blooded person, the white-eyed wolf said angrily. Ha ha. Lunatic laughed. Qin Feiyang shook his head. Dong Qin is indeed pitiful, but she is not worthy of sympathy. Why? Is it because she chose to take revenge on Dong Tianqin and the others? The white-eyed wolf was suspicious. Revenge? I am not against it. After all, it is for the people you love. But revenge can also be done through proper means. If she chose to fight with Dong Tianqin and the others to avenge Dong Hanzong openly, not only will I not say anything, but I will also admire her. But now she has chosen to distort the truth. Qin Feiyang shook his head. I am afraid she does not have the ability to fight with Dong Tianqin and the others. The white-eyed wolf frowned. When we first fought with the Divine Kingdom, weren't we inferior to them? But why can we deal with one enemy after another? Qin Feiyang asked. That's true. The white-eyed wolf nodded. Let's not talk about her. Prepare to go to Qingtian City and put on a wonderful show for Dongqing. Qin Feiyang's eyes flickered coldly. He had planned for so long just for this moment. Qingtian City. Night enveloped the world. Although it was already late at night, the city was still brightly lit. This was especially true for the major restaurants, which were basically packed to the brim. Everyone was drinking and discussing while waiting. Buzz. Suddenly, in the night sky, a space-time tunnel appeared. Lu Jiajin and Lunatic, who were standing in the sky, immediately looked at the space-time tunnel with murderous intent in their eyes. A space-time tunnel has appeared. Could it be Qin Feiyang and the others? In the city below, there were also many people who immediately discovered the space-time tunnel and immediately exclaimed. Immediately, people in the major restaurants swarmed out and looked up at the space-time tunnel. It was the center of attention. Finally, 3 figures stepped out of the space-time tunnel one after another. Who else could it be other than Qin Feiyang and the others? It's really them. They really didn't disappoint us. I told you, they can't be afraid of Lu Yuntian and Lu Yunfeng. There will definitely be a bloody battle next. Everyone be careful and be ready to leave Qingtian City at any time. Everyone was discussing. Many cowardly people had already fled Qingtian City with their families. You're finally here. The inner demons roared and a monstrous evil aura surged out, heading straight for Qin Feiyang and the others. Humph! Lunatic snorted coldly. A terrifying evil aura also emerged from his body. The 2 evil auras collided with each other. A destructive ripple immediately surged out in all directions like a flood, including the clear sky city below. Leave the city quickly, someone roared. But at this moment, Qin Feiyang raised his hand and waved. The power of life and death emerged and condensed into a huge barrier above Qingtian City. The destructive wave was blocked by the barrier. Seeing this scene, the people in the city were all stunned. What did Qin Feiyang mean by this? He actually protected them? Qin Feiyang looked at the inner demons and said indifferently, "This is our personal grudge. Don't hurt the innocent." Hee. I didn't expect you to be so benevolent. They are all people of our divine kingdom, and you still want to protect them? The inner demons sneered. Whether it is the people of the divine kingdom or the people of the sky cloud realm, they should not be involved in our battle. Qin Feiyang said, "Stop pretending to be benevolent. If you are really such a person, why did you go to Qingyang Mountain to kill our family? Aren't they innocent?" The inner demons roared. I will give you an explanation for this matter later. After Qin Feiyang said that, he looked at the people in the city below and said indifferently, I know that there are many of you here. You are all spies sent by the Emperor, the monarch, and the supreme being of the human race. Now inform the Emperor and the others to come to Qingtian City immediately. As expected, as Qin Feiyang's voice fell, many people took out their voice transmission stones. What do you want? Aren't you afraid that they will encircle you? The inner demons sneered. If we were afraid, we wouldn't have come to Qingtian City. Besides, maybe you will help us later. Qin Feiyang laughed. What do you mean? The inner demons frowned. Don't worry, you will know soon. After Qin Feiyang said that, he slowly took out a tea table and a few wooden stools and sat down with the madman and the white-eyed wolf to drink tea. You still have the mood to drink tea? Seeing this, everyone was speechless. Chapter 4296. Supreme Mountain. Sir. The human race Supreme Master hurried to the back mountain and stood in front of Dong Qingyuan's courtyard. Soon, Dong Qingyuan walked out and looked at the anxious human race Supreme Master. He frowned and said, What's the matter? Why are you so flustered? A spy reported that Qin Feiyang and the other two appeared in Qingtian City. The human race Supreme Master said, Really? Dong Qingyuan asked in surprise. It's absolutely true. The human race Supreme Master nodded. They really dare to go to Qingtian City. It seems that I have underestimated their courage. Killing intent flashed in Dong Qingyuan's eyes. He turned to look at the courtyard next door and shouted, Dong Laifu, come out immediately. Let's go to Qingtian City. However, there was no response from the courtyard. What's going on? Dong Qingyuan was stunned. The human race Supreme Master also had a suspicious look. Dong Qingyuan released his divine sense and shrouded the courtyard. No one. After coming back to his senses, he hurriedly turned to look at the human race Supreme Master and asked, Have you seen Dong Laifu? No. The human race Supreme Master shook his head. What's going on? Dong Qingyuan frowned. The human race Supreme Master said suspiciously, Could it be that he has already gone to Qingtian City? Impossible. Dong Qingyuan shook his head. Dong Laifu was his confidant. If he really went to Qingtian City, he would definitely report to him in advance. Then, he probably has something to do and left alone. The human race Supreme Master guessed. Dong Qingyuan frowned and waved his hand. Let's ignore him and go to Qingtian City. Not long after the two opened the teleportation channel and left, Dong Tianqian, Dong Ping, and Dong Xian, who lived on the other side, also walked out of their respective courtyards. The three of them looked at each other and went straight to Dong Qin's pavilion without saying a word. In their eyes, there was a bone-piercing killing intent. Obviously, they wanted to take advantage of Dong Qingyuan's absence to attack Dong Qin. However, when they entered the courtyard and saw that there was no one in the loft, they were a little stunned. Where was this damn woman? Could it be that teacher is protecting her? Dong Xian frowned. There's no other explanation. Dong Ping snorted. It seems that teacher has already expected that we won't let Dong Qin go. Dong Tianqian sighed, looking rather vexed. Are we going to Qingtian City now? Dong Ping asked. Of course. Qin Feiyang's opponents this time are Lu Yuntian and Lu Yunfeng. Moreover, the people of the three major races will definitely take this opportunity to encircle and annihilate them. As long as they die, won't we be able to regain our freedom? Dong Xian sneered. Qing'an City. More and more people rushed over after hearing the news. There were even remnants of the Sea Clan and the Beast Clan. There was no exception. When they saw Qin Feiyang and the other two sitting in the sky above the city and drinking tea as if there was no one else around, their expressions became extremely strange. There wasn't even the slightest bit of tension. Those who didn't know would think that this was a gathering of old friends. Swish! As space-time tunnels appeared, the first to descend upon Qingtian City was the Divine King. The 10 reverends of the deity race all followed him. His aura was monstrous. Following closely, the monarch and heavenly Lord Ji also arrived with the 10 supremacies of the purple-gold divine dragon clan. The atmosphere gradually became solemn. because the people of the two major races were filled with an inescapable murderous intent. After a few breaths, the human clan supreme being and Dong Qingyuan also arrived with a group of experts. Dong Qingyuan looked at Qin Feiyang and the other two with murderous intent surging in his eyes. He waved his hand and said, "Surround them." The people of the three major races immediately spread out and surrounded Qin Feiyang and the other two. Seeing this scene, Qin Feiyang and the other two couldn't help but show a trace of mockery on their faces. "Damn old man, don't be hasty. I'll let you be awe-inspiring for a while. You'll suffer later. Almost everyone is here." Qin Feiyang chuckled. As he waved his hand, a few small stools appeared. He said with a smile, "Why don't you sit down and we'll talk while drinking tea?" "My three little brothers, you're quite refined," Dong Qingyuan said with a smile. Qin Feiyang shook his head and sighed. "We're just trying to find joy in hardship. We can't compare with you. You're the refined one. Is that so? I didn't even realize it myself." Dong Qingyuan looked at Qin Feiyang with a fake smile. "Don't do it unless you don't want others to know." Qin Feiyang smiled meaningfully. He looked at the inner demons and Lu Jiajin and said, "You should be very curious now. Why did I kill your family? If you have something to say it quickly." The inner demons raised his eyebrows. "Okay, I'll tell you now. I didn't kill your family," Qin Feiyang said. "Are you joking with us? The news that you went to Blue Sun Mountain and killed their family has already spread throughout the four great continents. There's irrefutable evidence." Dong Qingyuan shouted coldly. "That's right. Someone clearly recorded the whole process of you killing their family. The evidence is irrefutable. How can you deny it?" The people in the city below also shouted one after another. Qin Feiyang looked at Dong Qingyuan, then at the people in the city below, and said with a faint smile, "What you see may not be true." "What a joke. The evidence is right in front of us. How can it be false? Besides you, who else has 3,000 incarnations? Don't tell us that it was the purple gold divine dragon who did it." Someone sneered. Qin Feiyang waved his hand, and a figure suddenly appeared beside him. Dong Laifu. Dong Qingyuan's eyes trembled. What was going on? Why was Dong Laifu with Qin Feiyang? Dong Tianqian, Dong Ping, and Dong Xian, who were hiding in the distance, were also shocked. What was going on? Qin Feiyang glanced at Dong Qingyuan, then looked at the inner demons and Lu Jiajin. He smiled and said, "You two should be familiar with this person, right?" "Of course not. He is Dong Laifu, Dong Qingyuan's henchman from the Central Dynasty," the inner demons said. Qin Feiyang and the others knew about Dong Laifu's existence, but the people below didn't, so they had to reveal Dong Laifu's identity in advance. Qin Feiyang looked at the people below and said with a smile, "You heard it, right? This man is Dong Qingyuan's henchman. He must be telling the truth." Everyone was silent. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly and said, "Dong Laifu, why don't you tell everyone what's going on?" But before Dong Laifu could speak, Dong Qingyuan's eyes flashed with killing intent as he shouted, "Dong Laifu, how dare you collude with Qin Feiyang to frame me? I'll kill you, you bastard." "Don't move." The inner demon stepped in front of Dong Qingyuan and said, "Let Dong Laifu finish." "Lu Yuntian, do you really believe Qin Feiyang's nonsense?" Dong Qingyuan shouted. "We'll know if it's nonsense after Dong Laifu says it. I don't want to say it again. If you dare to attack now, don't blame me for not showing mercy." Killing intent surged in the inner demon's eyes. Dong Qingyuan's face was ashen. Qin Feiyang looked at Dong Qingyuan and said mockingly, "You really can't kill Dong Laifu now. Otherwise, you'll be suspected of silencing him." "You?" Dong Qingyuan clenched his fists and glared at Dong Laifu. "Think carefully before you speak." His words were laced with a threatening tone. Qin Feiyang turned to Dong Laifu and said with a smile, "Tell us everything you know." "Yes." Dong Laifu nodded respectfully. He looked at Dong Qingyuan and said, "I was the one who pretended to be Qin Feiyang and went to Blue Sun Mountain the first time. At that time, I was ordered by Dong Qingyuan to test their strength." Dong Qingyuan. The inner demons and Dong Qingyuan were furious when Dong Laifu said this. They glared at Dong Qingyuan fiercely. Chapter 4297. That's not true. Dong Laifu is framing us. Dong Qingyuan said hurriedly. Don't worry. I'm not done yet. Qin Feiyang chuckled, looked at Dong Laifu and ordered, continue. The first time, I went to test their strength and was seriously injured by them, forcing me to self-destruct. When I reported this to Dong Qingyuan, he thought of a plan to continue pretending to be Qin Feiyang and the others to kill Lu Yuntian's family. Because Lu Yuntian's brother was not very enthusiastic about killing Qin Feiyang and the others. But because of their talent and strength, Dong Qingyuan did not dare to scold them, so he came up with this plan. He used the death of Lu Yuntian's family to provoke their anger. This way, they would hate Qin Feiyang to the core and would definitely hunt down Qin Feiyang and the others. Dong Laifu said slowly. Dong Qingyuan was furious and roared. Nonsense, nonsense, this is clearly your plan. Haha, you've confessed without being pressed. But before he could finish, the white-eyed wolf and the mad scientist laughed. Dong Qingyuan's face froze when he heard this. Wasn't this the same as confessing without being pressed? Dong Qingyuan. The inner demons and Lu Jiajin glared at Dong Qingyuan, their eyes extremely terrifying. The people in the city below also looked at Dong Qingyuan in disbelief. How could he kill the people around him? That was too cruel. It's not like that. Seeing that he had become the target of public criticism, Dong Qingyuan hurriedly waved his hand to explain. See, I'll shut up. The inner demon said sternly. He looked at Dong Laifu and said, Go on. Who was the one who pretended to be Qin Feiyang and killed our family members the second time? The one who pretended to be Qin Feiyang the second time was him. Dong Laifu suddenly pointed at Heavenly Lord Ji and said, What? Patriarch, is this true? The 10 lords of the purple gold divine dragon race looked at Heavenly Lord Ji in shock. Heavenly Lord Ji's face was gloomy as he glared at Dong Laifu and said furiously, You were clearly the ones who told me to go. It really is you. The inner demons and Lu Jiajin gloomily stared at Heaven Lord Ji. Heavenly Lord Ji looked at Dong Qingyuan in panic. However, Dong Qingyuan closed his eyes and turned a deaf ear to Heavenly Lord Ji's request for help. He seemed to be trying his best to suppress the anger in his heart. Speak. Is it you or not? The inner demons spoke, their killing intent soaring to the heavens. Heavenly Lord Ji retracted his gaze, lowered his head, and pondered for a while. He sighed and said, Yes, it's me. But they asked me to go. You should know Dong Qingyuan and the others' methods. If I don't go, I won't have a good ending. Bastard. The inner demons were furious. One more thing. Do you know who recorded this video? Who was the one who spread it? Qin Feiyang looked at the crowd and smiled. Who? The inner demons frowned. Qin Feiyang looked at Dong Laifu. Dong Laifu said, This person is Old Man Wu of the Purple Gold Divine Dragon Race. He's actually a spy we planted in the Purple Gold Divine Dragon Race. What? The Lord, Heavenly Lord Ji, and the 10 Supremes were stunned. The Lord and Heavenly Lord Ji certainly knew, but at this moment, they had to pretend not to know. Old Man Wu is a spy? Bastard! Great Supremes, go and capture Old Man Wu right now. The Lord shouted. Yes. The Great Supremes nodded and immediately opened a passage and left furiously. The other 9 Supremes stared at Dong Qingyuan with a gloomy look. The people of the Central Dynasty had gone too far. How dare they plant a spy in the Purple Gold Divine Dragon Race? Without a doubt, once Old Man Wu's identity was exposed, the entire Purple Gold Divine Dragon Race would definitely be enraged. And this anger would undoubtedly be the fuse that would break the relationship between the Purple Gold Divine Dragon Race and the Central Dynasty. What's going on? Why would the Central Dynasty plant a spy in the Purple Gold Divine Dragon Race? Those of the human race and the god race were shocked. The Purple Gold Divine Dragon Race was loyal to the Central Dynasty, but they still did this. This was too disappointing. The Divine King and the Supremes of the human race looked at each other, and a glint of light flashed in their eyes. They turned to Qin Feiyang and asked, Then, do we have a spy from the Central Dynasty? In fact, they were hinting that they should take the opportunity to get rid of the spy around them. Qin Feiyang understood, and his eyes glittered. He might as well get rid of the spy from the god race and the human race as well, because this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. The exposure of Old Wu as a spy had already aroused the anger of the Purple Gold Divine Dragon clan. If the spies of the Human Clan and the Divine Clan were also exposed at this time, the Human Clan and the Divine Clan would definitely be furious. When the time came, maybe the Monarch, the Divine King, and the Supremes of the human race didn't even need to speak, and the people below would spontaneously resist the Central Dynasty's rule. At this thought, Qin Feiyang looked at Dong Lifu and asked, "Do you have a spy from the human race and the god race?" "Yes." Dong Lifu nodded. "What?" The Divine King and the Supremes of the human race were furious and shouted, "Who?" At this moment, the 3 Supremes of the human race and the 10 Supremes of the god race were extremely frightened, because they were spies. 2 of the spies of the human race and the god race are here right now. They are the 3 Supremes of the human race and the 10 Supremes of the god race. Dong Lifu pointed at the 2 and said, swoosh. In an instant, everyone's gaze was focused on the 2 of them. "Supremes, it's not like that. You have to believe me." The 3 Supremes of the human race hurriedly waved their hands in extreme fear. "Lord Divine King, don't listen to his nonsense. I'm not." The 10 Supremes of the god race also shook their heads. "Shut up." The Divine King's face was as gloomy as water. The other 9 Supremes of the human race and the god race also looked at the 2 in disbelief. They never thought that their old friends who had been with them for so many years were actually spies of the Central Dynasty. The Supremes of the human race looked at Dong Lifu and asked, "Who else is there besides them?" Dong Lifu said, "There are 2 more. One is the master of the law enforcement hall of the human race, and the other is the city lord of the god race." Preposterous, preposterous. The Divine King and the Supremes of the human race were furious. They looked at the other Supremes of the 2 races and shouted, "Supremes, stay here. The rest of you go back and capture them." Yes. The 16 Supremes of the 2 races immediately opened the space-time tunnel and turned to leave. The 3 Supremes of the human race and the 10 Supremes of the god race looked at each other and flew behind Dong Qingyuan at the same time. "My lord, you must save us. Didn't you just say that you're not spies? Why are you running to Dong Qingyuan's side now?" The Divine King was furious. The 2 were extremely panicked. "Damn it, the god race has spies, and they're the 10 Supremes and the city lord of the god race. This is outrageous. 10 Supremes, do you still have a conscience? How dare you betray our race?" Many god race members in the city below glared at the 10 Supremes in anger. The humans in the city were also heartbroken about the 3 supremacies. "Did you see that? This is the Central Dynasty's method. Not only do they not trust the 3 races, they even attacked Lu Yuntian's family. They're completely inhumane. I'd like to ask everyone, is this Central Dynasty really worth your lives?" Qin Feiyang spoke at this time. His voice wasn't very loud, but it spread through the entire Qingtian city and fell clearly into everyone's ears. This was the perfect opportunity to add fuel to the fire and completely ignite the anger in the hearts of the 3 races. The moment these words were spoken, everyone fell into a dead silence. Everyone lowered their heads and remained silent. Think about it carefully. The Oceanic race and the Beast race have been hiding in the East continent and doing nothing, but they've been rewarded by the sovereign of the Divine Kingdom. I'm sure the Dragon God and Neptune don't need me to say more about the origin energy. On the other hand, no matter what you 3 races do, you're always at the forefront. Take this invasion of the Sky Cloud realm, for example. It's always the 3 races at the front. But now, what have you gotten? You've gotten distrust and surveillance. May I ask, are you really willing to serve such people? If you say you're willing, then I can only scold you for being too stupid. You've never thought about the future of the 3 races. Qin Feiyang shook his head and mocked. The eyes of the 3 races trembled when they heard this. "I'm not willing," someone suddenly roared. It was the human race's great Supremes. As a great Supremes, he shouldn't have been the first to express his opinion, but he couldn't hold back the anger in his heart. "Yes, it's not worth it. Today, the Central Dynasty can kill the families of Lu Yuntian and Lu Yunfeng. In the future, They will definitely do the same to us. We must unite and resist the Central Dynasty's rule. This is the only way to preserve the dignity of our three races and protect our descendants." The others also roared, each of them filled with righteous indignation. Qin Feiyong, the madman, and the white-eyed wolf looked at each other with a smile in their eyes. This was the result they wanted to see the most. In the current situation, it was no exaggeration to say that as long as the monarch, the divine king, and the supremes of the human race gave the order, the people of the three races would definitely follow them and resist the Central Dynasty. "Everyone, calm down," the monarch shouted. "My lord, we can't calm down. It's the Central Dynasty that has gone too far." The supremes of the purple-gold divine dragon race all shouted angrily. "I know, but we can't betray the divine kingdom." The monarch sighed deeply. "Monarch, do you know that this is blind loyalty?" Qin Feiyong shook his head. "This is our business. You don't have the right to interfere." The monarch glared at Qin Feiyong and said angrily, "What's with your attitude? If it wasn't for us, would you have found these spies? You're so heartless." The madman harumphed coldly. The monarch clenched his hands and was about to speak. Buzz. But then, a space-time passage appeared. It was the purple-gold divine dragon race's great supremes who had returned with Old Man Wu. Old Man Wu wasn't injured at all, so it seemed that the great supremes hadn't told him about this, so he was confused. End of chapter. Chapter 4298. But soon, Old Wu realized that the atmosphere wasn't right. The reason for that was because the people of the purple-gold divine dragon clan were looking at him with eyes filled with fury. What's going on? A trace of suspicion crept into his heart. But suddenly, he noticed Dong Laifu standing next to Qin Feiyong and the other two and was shocked. What was going on? Why was Dong Laifu standing next to Qin Feiyong and the other two? "He's here." The king turned to look at him with disappointment in his eyes. And Old Wu was a little nervous. Why did everyone look so strange? "Do you know him?" The king pointed at Dong Laifu and asked. Old Wu looked at Dong Laifu and nodded. "Yes, he's from the Central Dynasty. Are you familiar with him?" The king asked again. "No." Old Wu shook his head. "Not familiar? If you weren't familiar with him, would you go to Qingyang Mountain with Dong Laifu? If you weren't familiar with him, would you help him record the video of the Heavenly Lord killing Lu Yuntian's family and spread it overnight?" The king roared. This, Old Wu's face changed. "Dong Laifu has already confessed. Are you still going to explain?" The king's eyes flashed with killing intent, which made Old Wu feel like he was in an abyss. He quickly knelt in the void and said, "It's not like that. Let me explain." "What's there to explain?" "I really didn't expect you to betray us and be bought over by the Central Dynasty." The king was heartbroken. "No, Dong Laifu forced me to do this." Old Wu shook his head. "Bastard, the truth is right in front of you. You're still talking nonsense. Haven't the purple-gold divine dragon race been good to you all these years? The king treats you like a brother. Tian Yu and the Heavenly Lord treat you like a grandfather. We, the 10 supremacies in the eyes of outsiders, are also polite to you. Is this how you repay us?" The 10 supremacies of the purple-gold divine dragon race shouted. Old Wu was flustered looking at the angry group of people. Suddenly, he took a big stride forward and arrived behind Dong Qingyuan. Panicked, he cried out, "Save me, my lord." However, the moment Dong Qingyuan closed his eyes, he did not open them again. No one knew what he was thinking at that moment. The anger on his face had also disappeared. He appeared abnormally calm, so calm that it was frightening. Wong. At this moment, the other sovereigns of the human race and the god race also arrived with the city lord of the divine city and the lord of the disciplinary hall of Mount Supreme. The two of them were not as lucky as Old Wu. His entire body was drenched in blood. His sea of qi had also been destroyed. "Sovereign, please spare my life. Lord Divine King, please give me another chance." As soon as the two of them arrived, they immediately knelt in front of the Divine King and Jizun, crying and begging for mercy. "Give you a chance?" From this, One could see just how strong this slap was. If you dare say another word, I'll make you wish you were dead, the Divine King gloomily said. Then he looked at Dong Lifu and said, Continue. They brought up different conditions. The city lord's condition was to help him sit on the Divine King's throne in the future. This is because he has long been dissatisfied with your rule over the Divine King. As for the 10 sovereigns of your god race, his condition was to enter the central dynasty. Dong Lifu said, What? He wants to usurp my position as the Divine King. You're quite ambitious. The Divine King glared at the city lord. She really didn't expect this person she had always trusted to be so ambitious. The city lord was both panicked and desperate. And you? The Divine King then looked at the 10 sovereigns hiding behind Dong Qingyuan and sneered. Although it's said that men strive for greater heights and water flows to lower depths, your betrayal of your master is simply laughable. You are a disgrace to the god race. The 10 sovereigns lowered their heads, trembling in fear and not daring to speak. As expected, this is a wonderful show. Qin Feiyong and the other two exchanged glances, their faces full of smiles. This way, all the members of the god race would be even more dissatisfied with the central dynasty. The white-eyed wolf purposely asked loudly, Dong Lifu, what conditions did the hall master of the law enforcement hall, the third sovereign, and old Wu of the purple gold divine dragon race propose? Don't say it. We're begging you. The three looked at Dong Lifu in panic and roared. But Dong Lifu ignored them and said, Old Wu's condition is to help him obtain 3,000 clones. The hall master of the law enforcement hall and the third sovereign's conditions are similar to the two from the god race. One wants to enter the central dynasty, and the other wants to become the sovereign of the human race. Old Wu and the other two slumped to the ground, their faces ashen. If they knew about this, the monarch and the human sovereign would not let them go. Why did it become like this? Why, haha. How wonderful. The white-eyed wolf laughed and looked at the monarch and the other two. Let me ask you, are you surprised? The three's faces were dark. Qin Feiyong chuckled and looked at Dong Lifu. So, you've agreed to their conditions?
Yes.
Dong Qingyuan agreed. Actually, in the eyes of the central dynasty, the god race, the human race, and the purple gold divine dragon race are just cannon fodder. Dong Lifu said, Bastard, and you're still treating us like cannon fodder. Your Majesty, Your Majesty, Your Majesty, Your Majesty, let's rebel. This kind of sovereign, this kind of central dynasty, is not worth our lives. In front of them, we don't even have the least bit of dignity. At these words, everyone from the 3 major races present couldn't help but roar. The monarch and the other two were silent. This was indeed a good opportunity to revolt, because as long as they expressed their stance now, the people of the 3 major races would definitely follow them and rebel against the central dynasty. However, they hadn't figured out the foundation of the central dynasty yet, so they couldn't risk the fate of the 3 major races. So, they had to continue to endure. I really didn't expect things to develop to this point. In the distance, Dong Tianqin and the other two looked solemn. Yes, this Qin Feiyong is really terrifying. Such a sure-death situation. Not only did he solve it easily, but he also made the creatures of the 4 continents hostile to the central dynasty. If this matter continues, our divine kingdom will fall apart. At this moment, the 3 of them were full of fear toward Qin Feiyong and the others. In the past, they were afraid of the strength of Qin Feiyong and the others, but now they were afraid of the means of Qin Feiyong and the others. This was purely playing them in the palm of his hand, and they were powerless to refute. Haha, suddenly, there was a loud laugh. Everyone looked at Dong Qingyuan. Now, he was still in the mood to laugh? Was he stupid? Dong Qingyuan finally opened his eyes and scanned the city. In the end, he looked at Qin Feiyong and the other two. Instead of anger, his old face was full of admiration. What are you looking at? Do you suddenly feel that the 3 of us are very handsome and want to marry your granddaughter to us? The white-eyed wolf looked at him jokingly. Haha, Dong Qing couldn't stop laughing as if he had gone crazy. The white-eyed wolf frowned. He couldn't take this blow. Was he really crazy? Amazing. Young people of the divine kingdom. No, Even the older generation of the Divine Kingdom has to admit defeat in front of you. Dong Qingyuan gradually stopped laughing and looked at the three of them. End of chapter. Chapter 4299. You're praising us? The white-eyed wolf looked at Qin Feiyong and the madman in shock. Was this old man crazy? What we've done is worthy of praise. The madman laughed shamelessly. The white-eyed wolf's mouth twitched. How could he be more shameless than him? However, Qin Feiyong didn't say anything. He just looked at Dong Qingyuan silently. Dong Qingyuan was so calm. Did he have something to rely on? Logically speaking, all of Dong Qingyuan's plans had been exposed by them, so he should have been driven to desperation. Especially Dong Laifu's betrayal. If it were anyone else, it would be impossible for them to be so calm. You guys are really powerful. Not only did you destroy my plan, but you also checkmated me. But so what? Even if the monarch and the others know about this, will they still attack me? Dong Qingyuan slammed the crutch in his hand, and a terrifying sovereign's aura rolled out. His entire body also exploded with a shocking aura. A sovereign divine weapon. Qin Feiyong and the others narrowed their eyes as they stared at the crutch in Dong Qingyuan's hand. This should be the pinnacle sovereign divine weapon that Dong Laifu mentioned. The monarch and the others also looked at the crutch in shock. Of course, they were no stranger to this crutch. As Dong Qingyuan had always carried it with him, they usually didn't see anything special about it. They never expected it to be such a terrifying sovereign divine weapon. Dong Qingyuan looked at the monarch and the others with a cold glint in his eyes. He said, I order you to surround Qin Feiyong and the others immediately. The monarch and the others couldn't help but frown when they heard this. His attitude was still so arrogant. What? Do you really want to rebel? Let me tell you, the Divine Kingdom can create you, and it can also destroy you. Dong Qingyuan's eyes were gloomy and overbearing. This caused the monarch and the other two monarchs to feel a surge of anger rising in their hearts. Did he really think he was someone important? Seeing Dong Qingyuan's domineering attitude, the spies also gained some confidence. The 10 reverends of the god race said, Divine King, Monarch, we're not betraying you at all. What did you say? The Divine Kingdom stared at the 10 lords with undisguised killing intent. Whether it's you or us, we're all citizens of the Divine Kingdom. We're loyal to the Central Dynasty and the Lord Ruler. What's wrong with that? The 10 venerables coldly snorted. That's right. Your vision is too small. Do you think that we should be loyal to you just because we are from the 3 major races? What a joke. Are you greater than the Central Dynasty and the Lord Ruler? The 3 martial highnesses of the human race and Old Wu spoke too. All right, all right, all right. The monarch and the other 2 nodded. They were so angry that they laughed. Lord Dong Qingyuan is an emissary sent by the emperor. If you don't listen to his orders, you are rebelling. Do you know the consequences of rebelling? Therefore, you should listen to me obediently. Otherwise, the 3 tribes will be wiped out. The spies sneered. They couldn't be blamed for being so arrogant. It was all because Dong Qingyuan's current performance was too domineering. Unknowingly, it gave them a lot of confidence and courage. Little did they know, the monarch and the other 2 were already extremely angry. Now, he was deliberately provoking them. Wasn't this the same as challenging their bottom line? Boom. Accompanied by a terrifying murderous aura, the Divine King took a step forward and landed in front of the city lord of the Divine City. He slammed his palm down. No, the city lord of the Divine City screamed. Before he could celebrate, the god of death had already arrived. However, the Divine King didn't show any mercy. As the power of law appeared, a shocking aura erupted. The city lord of the Divine City screamed as blood splattered all over the sky. Immediately after, the Divine King grabbed the city lord's divine soul. Lord, please, don't kill me. The city lord's divine soul wailed. This sudden scene was undoubtedly a wake-up call for the 3 martial highnesses, the 10 martial highnesses, and Old Wu. His arrogance vanished in an instant, leaving behind only a look of horror. Especially the hall master of the Law Enforcement Hall, who was paralyzed in front of the sovereign of the human race. He was so scared that he even peed. Do you think Dong Qingyuan can protect you? Don't forget, this is the four great continents, not the central dynasty. The divine king smiled coldly and clenched his fist. The divine soul of the city lord immediately let out a mournful cry and was destroyed. Old Wu and the other two trembled. That's right. They were now in the four great continents. The master of the four great continents was the divine king, the sovereign of the human race. Here, they had the final say. As for Dong Qingyuan, although he had a peak-level sovereign divine weapon, the powerhouses of the three races were not to be trifled with. Dong Qingyuan might not be their opponent. Moreover, isn't there a saying that goes like this? A strong dragon couldn't suppress a snake in its old haunts. No matter how high Dong Qingyuan's status was and how strong he was, in the four great continents, the emperor was far away. What could he do? More importantly, right now, the people of the three major races all loathed Dong Qingyuan to the core. The central dynasty's actions had already aroused public anger. Previously, many people had already proposed to resist the central dynasty's rule. In such a situation, it was already very good that Dong Qingyuan could protect himself. How could he have the heart to protect them? At this moment, the great venerable of the human race also pointed at the hall master of the law enforcement hall who was paralyzed in the void. He looked at the sovereign of the human race and asked, "Sovereign, should we kill this person? He betrayed his own race and has wild ambitions. Of course, we must kill him." The sovereign of the human race said without hesitation. His tone was also murderous. Hearing this, the great venerable stepped in front of the hall master of the law enforcement hall. "Great venerable, please, don't kill me. I already know my mistakes and I promise to repent. Give me a chance." "No." But before he finished speaking, the great venerable's palm fell, accompanied by a helpless scream. Blood splashed in the sky, and his body and divine soul were both shattered. Two overlords had died so tragically at the hands of a divine king and a great venerable. Old Wu and the other two, who were hiding behind Dong Qingyuan, were pale and trembling. The divine king and the sovereign of the human race had used practical actions to prove that the spies had to be killed. The divine king looked at Dong Qingyuan and said, "We're killing the spies in our race. You won't interfere, right?" Dong Qingyuan held his walking stick, and his eyes were frighteningly gloomy. This was obviously a slap to his face. Does he dare to interfere? If he dares to interfere, I'll kill him. The inner demons stared at Dong Qingyuan with murderous intent. "How dare you?" Dong Qingyuan suddenly looked at the inner demons. "How dare you be so arrogant after killing my family?" The inner demons grinned, revealing a mouthful of white teeth. But this smile made people's hair stand on end. Lu Jiajin took a step forward and landed in front of Dong Qingyuan. "Old man, it seems that you still don't know much about us. Do you really think that we won't dare to touch you just because you have the emperor's support?" Dong Qingyuan was shocked and angry. "You?" But before he could say anything, a monstrous evil aura surged. The inner demons took a step toward Dong Qingyuan. The life and death laws and the ultimate mysteries of the six supreme laws appeared out of nowhere. He roared, "Old man, pay with your life for my family." Boom. Immediately, the seven ultimate mysteries charged toward Dong Qingyuan. "Oh no! Protect the people of Qing'an City." The Lord was startled. Once a battle of this level started, the people would definitely be plunged into misery and suffering. Before he finished speaking, the Lord and Heavenly Lord Ji activated their 3,000 clones at the same time. The power of Dharma laws appeared and formed a giant shield above the city. Boom! At the same time, the walking stick in Dong Qingyuan's hand also let out a dazzling light, and the power of a ruler appeared in all directions. "If you dare to be presumptuous again, you and your brothers will never return to the central dynasty." As he shouted, the walking stick shattered the sky and attacked the seven ultimate mysteries. A peak-level ruler's divine weapon was indeed powerful. Even the life and death laws and the dual will of heaven couldn't compete with it and were instantly destroyed. There's no point in returning to the central dynasty. Besides, Do you think it's our loss that you won't let us return to the central dynasty? No, it's your loss. Because you've lost two real peerless talents. In the future, you'll have two more terrifying enemies because we can join forces with Qin Feiyang and attack the central dynasty. The inner demon sneered. Dong Qingyuan was startled. If that was the case, the Lord Emperor might not let him go. How did things develop to this point? Today, you must die. Not even a peak-level ruler's divine weapon can stop me from killing you. The heart demon looked extremely ferocious as it charged towards Dong Qingyuan step by step. Its scarlet hair fluttered, and its baleful aura surged. Senior Wu and the other two, who were hiding behind Dong Qingyuan, could not help feeling frightened. Was this Lu Yuntian's courage and strength? He was simply an untamable beast. Clang. Dong Qingyuan was also very nervous. He swept the walking stick in the air and attacked the inner demons. How dare you do this with a peak-level ruler's divine weapon? Kneel down and surrender. The inner demon shouted. Murderous intent surged. In the next second, the Demon King true form was activated. Each of the Demon Kings was as large as a mountain, and the murderous intent they exuded was even more terrifying than the inner demons. Boom! The life and death law's ultimate mysteries, the 6 ultimate mysteries, and the dual wills of the Great Path were all activated in an instant. The walking stick, a peak-level ruler's divine weapon, couldn't help but tremble in the face of such a terrifying lineup, because its limit was equivalent to 1,000 low-level rulers' divine weapons. These 21,000 ultimate mysteries and the dual wills of the Great Path were enough to kill it instantly. Crack. As expected. In just an instant, the walking stick broke into pieces. This was the inner demons being merciful and denying that this peak-level ruler's divine weapon had been destroyed. Surrender. The inner demons looked at the walking stick with an imposing aura and roared. Immediately, under Dong Qingyuan's furious gaze, the broken walking stick obediently submitted to the inner demons. This was the inner demons' method. Even a peak-level ruler's divine weapon had to surrender. Not to mention anything else, just the terrifying aura alone was enough to intimidate everything in the world. As expected of Qin Feiyang's inner demons. Not bad. This guy is even more terrifying than Qin Feiyang. The monarch stared at the inner demons, his eyes full of awe. Yes, if he had fought with us all these years, I'm afraid that our 3 races would have followed in the footsteps of the Sea Clan and the Beast Clan, the Divine King and the Human Clan supremacy thought to themselves. Although Qin Feiyang's methods were terrifying, he was a person who valued relationships. Once this heart demon went berserk, it would be a master who would not recognize anyone and would kill everyone without mercy. End of chapter. Chapter 4300. As the cane surrendered, Dong Qingyuan's face became extremely ferocious. He shouted, Dong Tianqian, Dong Xian, Dong Ping, come and help me. Dong Tianqian and the others are here too? Everyone was shocked. Dong Tianqian and the other two's methods were obvious to all. If they came to help Dong Qingyuan, Lu Yuntian and Lu Yunfeng might not be able to defeat them. In the distance, Dong Tianqian and the other two frowned. Qin Feiyang was at the scene. If they attack now, wouldn't it be asking them to court death? Hurry up. Are you going to disobey my orders too? Dong Qingyuan turned to look at the 3 and shouted. The 3 frowned and flew over. Do you dare to attack? Qin Feiyang looked at the 3 of them and chuckled. The 3's pupils shrank and immediately stopped. Dong Tianqian was bound by the blood oath. Dong Ping and Dong Xian were also controlled by the soul-controlling technique. If Qin Feiyang wanted to kill them, it would be too easy. Dong Qingyuan, you have nowhere to go. The white-eyed wolf looked at him mockingly. Dong Qingyuan clenched his fists. Suddenly, a destructive aura rushed out of his body. Self-destruct? Qin Feiyang and the others were stunned. What was going on? Why did he choose to self-destruct? Didn't Dong Laifu say that he didn't leave his divine soul in the central dynasty? Qin Feiyang, just you wait. You will fall into my hands sooner or later. Dong Qingyuan stared at Qin Feiyang and smiled coldly. In the next moment, his body exploded, and a wave of destructive energy surged out in all directions. Go. Seeing that the situation was not good, Old Wu, the 3 supremacies of the human race, and the 10 supremacies of the god race turned around and ran. Want to run? The Lord smiled coldly. Accompanied by a loud clang, the divine dragon sword appeared and instantly erased the self-destruct wave. Then, the divine dragon sword charged toward the 3. No, the 3 screamed. They activated their ultimate profound meanings and charged toward the divine dragon sword. However, the divine dragon sword was a high-grade sovereign divine weapon. Among the 3 of them, Old Wu had not even grasped the will of the heavenly Tao. How could he be a match for the divine dragon sword? Following a miserable cry of despair, the 3 people's bodies shattered on the spot. Their souls ran out and fled in panic. Today, if I don't let you taste a fate worse than death, I'll be letting down your wild ambitions. The divine king took a step forward, and the power of various laws emerged, turning into a terrifying storm that swept towards the souls of the 3. No, I beg you. The 3 people's divine souls were engulfed by the storm. The wind blades were like sharp blades, cutting their divine souls. They kept begging, falling into the abyss of despair. Seeing this scene, not only did no one plead for them, their hearts were filled with joy. This is what a traitor deserves. Several hundred breaths passed. Under the endless pain, their souls were finally ground away bit by bit. Not even a single strand of hair was left. The divine king finally vented his anger. With a wave of his hand, the storm dissipated. Peace gradually returned to the world. Dong Lifu, what's going on? Didn't you say that Dong Qingyuan didn't leave his divine soul in the central dynasty? Qin Feiyong turned to look at Dong Lifu and frowned. As far as I know, he didn't. Dong Lifu also looked suspicious. The madman glanced at Dong Lifu, then looked at Qin Feiyong and said, "He's controlled by the soul-controlling technique, so he definitely won't lie to us." It can only be said that Dong Qingyuan is too cunning. He even hid it from Dong Lifu. I wanted to get rid of him this time, but I didn't expect him to have a trick up his sleeve. Qin Feiyong shook his head. That was a bit regretful. Dong Qingyuan was not only the emperor's confidant, but also the manager of the Death God army. If he could be killed, it would be a great loss for the emperor of the central dynasty. It doesn't matter. If we can force him to self-destruct this time, we can still kill him next time. The madman waved his hand, not taking it seriously at all. To be honest, as long as the main forces of the central dynasty didn't arrive, he wasn't afraid. Heavenly Lord Ji, how do you want to die? Suddenly, a cold, bone-chilling voice sounded. Everyone was stunned and hurriedly looked at the inner demons and Lu Jiajin, only to see the 2 of them staring at Heavenly Lord Ji with murderous intent in their eyes. Heavenly Lord Ji was also shocked and looked up at the 2 of them. Although it was Dong Qingyuan and the others who instigated this, our family members were indeed killed by you. So, you must pay the price. The inner demons said. You. The king glared at the 2 of them. Father. Heavenly Lord Ji stopped the king and sighed. I really should give them an explanation for this matter, but it's not your fault. Dong Qingyuan and the others forced me to do this, the king hurriedly said. The supremacies also glared at the inner demons and roared, every injustice has its perpetrator, and every debt has its debtor. If you want to kill, go kill Dong Qingyuan and Dong Lifu. Do you want to die too? The inner demons looked at the group of supremacies with a fierce light in his eyes. Do you think we're afraid of you? The purple gold divine dragon clan is not to be trifled with. The supremacies made up their minds and activated their ultimate intents. The will of heaven erupted, and the heavenly might shook the surroundings. No. Heavenly Lord Ji hurriedly stopped the 10 supremacies and said in a deep voice, they're not scary, but the central dynasty behind them is. Don't forget that they are now from the central dynasty and have the support of the emperor. But the 10 supremacies frowned. You don't have to say anything. I'll take care of it. Heavenly Lord Ji waved his hand and looked at the inner demons and said in a deep voice, I'll take responsibility for what I did. You can take my life if you want, but please don't take revenge on the purple gold divine dragon clan. You're quite benevolent. Okay, then kill yourself. The inner demon sneered. Clan leader, no, you're our backbone. Besides, we're not afraid of the Central Dynasty. We'll fight them to the death. The 10 supremacies were extremely anxious. I know you're not afraid, but we can't fall out with the Central Dynasty now. Everyone must endure and wait for the right time. Heavenly Lord Ji said telepathically. This sentence clearly had a hidden meaning, but he didn't know if the 10 supremacies could understand it. Endure. Wait for the right time. The 10 supremacies pondered over this sentence. At the same time, Heavenly Lord Ji looked at the inner demons and said, "Please do as you say." As his voice fell, a destructive aura rushed out of his body. Heavenly Lord, clan leader, the king and the 10 supremacies roared. Boom. The next moment, Heavenly Lord Ji's body exploded. The divine king sighed deeply and took out his high-grade sovereign weapon to quickly erase the explosion. Lu Yuntian, Lu Yunfeng, I'm not done with you. The 10 supremacies roared and rushed toward the inner demons with murderous intent. Stop right there. The king shouted. King. The 10 of them stopped and turned to look at the monarch. The king shouted. The heavenly monarch used his death in exchange for the peace of our purple gold divine dragon race. Do you want to let down his efforts? But the 10 venerables lowered their heads and clenched their fists tightly. No buts. This matter ends here. The monarch raised his head to look at the inner demons duo with a solemn expression. Are you satisfied now? Satisfied? 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 Please don't harass my purple gold divine dragon clan anymore. Let's go. With that, he opened a space-time tunnel and led the 10 venerables away without looking back. Qin Feiyang, Madman Imo, Golden-Winged Wolf King, seeing that you helped us find the spy, we won't hunt you down this time. However, don't blame us for being merciless the next time we meet. The Divine King looked at Qin Feiyang and said coldly. Then, he opened a space-time tunnel and left with the 9 venerables. The supreme being of the human clan silently glanced at Qin Feiyang and the other 2. Then, he turned around and left with the 9 supreme beings. Soon, there were only Qin Feiyang, the mad scientist, the white-eyed wolf, Dong Laifu, the inner demons, and Lu Jiajin left. The people in the city looked at the king and the others leaving, then looked at Qin Feiyang and the others in the sky and were filled with emotions. They were supposed to go after Qin Feiyang and the other 2. But in the end, Qin Feiyang and the other 2 weren't injured at all. They didn't even attack from the beginning to the end. On the contrary, Heavenly Monarch Ji, Dong Qingyuan, and Old Lord Wu died one after another. Although Old Lord Wu and the other spies deserved to die, it was undeniable that it was a loss for the 3 races. What a pity for Heavenly Monarch Ji. Although he's the leader of the Purple Gold Dragons, he's really nice. It's all Dong Qingyuan's fault. No, the Central Dynasty deserves to die. They used all kinds of despicable methods to deal with Qin Feiyang and the others, but in the end, the 3 races were implicated. What are the king, the Divine King, and the Lord of the human race thinking? The Central Dynasty has already treated us like this. Why aren't we fighting back? Are we going to wait for death? People were filled with indignation. Their hatred for the Central Dynasty rose to an unprecedented level. Seeing all this, Qin Feiyang and the other 2 revealed a trace of a smile in their eyes. This result was even more perfect than they had anticipated. They had the right time and place. Now, they just needed to find out the power of the Central Dynasty, and then they could directly declare war. Cousin, let's meet at the Thousand Phoenix Mountain later. I've also made an appointment with the king and the others. They'll all come later. Qin Feiyang said. Okay, Lu Jiajin replied. Even he couldn't help but praise Qin Feiyang's plan this time. A few spies were only a small problem. Provoking the anger and hatred of the 3 races against the Central Dynasty was the biggest reward. Qin Feiyang coughed and looked at the inner demons and Lu Jiajin. He smiled and said, Shall we continue? Hearing this, the people below couldn't help but look at them. The strength of Qin Feiyang and the others was obvious. Lu Yuntian and Lu Yunfeng weren't simple people either. If these people were to fight, it would definitely be an exciting battle. I'm not in the mood today. But there will be a battle between us sooner or later. Heart Demon snorted coldly. He took the broken peak-level Dominator divine weapon, opened a space-time tunnel, and left. Lu Jiajin looked at the three and said, I apologize for what happened today, and also thank you. Otherwise, we would have been used by Dong Qingyuan. No need. We did it for ourselves. Otherwise, the world would have thought that we killed your family. Qin Feiyong waved his hand and smiled. Of course, he said this on purpose for the people below to hear. We'll meet again. Lu Jiajin cupped his hands and entered the space-time tunnel. Soon, he disappeared without a trace. End of chapter. Chapter 4301. The madman was secretly unhappy. The inner demons really don't know what's polite, directly taking the peak sovereign weapon. He was the one who killed Dong Qingyuan. If I don't give it to him, should I give it to you? The white-eyed wolf looked down on him. Do I look like such a greedy person? You're a hypocrite. You speak so righteously, but in your heart, you can't wait to snatch it. The madman secretly laughed. You even know this? Are you a worm in my stomach? The white-eyed wolf looked at him jokingly. Scram. The madman's face was dark. Don't be so disgusting, okay? Enough. But with this peak sovereign weapon in our hands, we're the ones who benefit. Qin Feiyong waved his hand and smiled. That's true, but if this sovereign weapon is in the hands of the inner demons, what if the emperor asks him to hand it over when he returns to the central dynasty? The madman frowned. Wouldn't that be a waste of effort? Qin Feiyong laughed. Do you think with the inner demon's personality, he will still hand it over when it's in his hands? The madman was stunned. Suddenly, he laughed out loud. Indeed, with the inner demon's temper, not to mention the emperor, even if the sovereign of the divine kingdom appeared, he might not necessarily hand it over. What are they laughing about? The people in the city below looked at the three people in the sky suspiciously. Do you still need to think? There's no doubt that they are the biggest winners in this game. If it were me, I would also laugh. Yes. How terrifying. It feels like no matter what, nothing can stop them. Everyone murmured. Qin Feiyong looked down at the city below and laughed. Although I'm from the Sky Cloud realm, to be honest, the Central Dynasty's attitude towards the three races is not pleasing to the eye even for an outsider like me. So in the future, if you want to resist the Central Dynasty's rule, feel free to come to me. What's in it for us? Will you be kind enough to help us? Someone asked. Qin Feiyong laughed. He was afraid that no one would ask, because if no one asked, it meant that there was no chance. Of course, as long as you renounce the darkness and join the light. To show my sincerity, I'll give you a good fortune now. Qin Feiyong smiled. What good fortune? Everyone was bewildered. White-eyed wolf and madman also looked at Qin Feiyong in confusion. What was going on this time? A moment passed. Qin Feiyong waved his hand, and ultimate law's inheritances appeared out of thin air. After waiting for so long, he wasn't purposely keeping everyone in suspense. Instead, he was waiting for Fire Lotus to prepare. This was because all the nomological legacies were in the hands of the Fire Lotus. The people in the city were in an uproar. There were at least 10,000 ultimate profound inheritances. The mad scientist and the white-eyed wolf were stunned. These ultimate profound legacies were only ordinary laws. However, even if they were ordinary laws, there were 10,000 of them. It was still a huge treasure. Old Qin, this guy, must be crazy, taking out so many legacies to give to these irrelevant people. Over the years, we've come to Clear Sky City many times and caused a lot of trouble for everyone. So, take this as a little compensation for everyone. Qin Feiyong smiled. With a wave of his hand, the 10,000 ultimate profound legacies turned into streams of light and flew to every corner of Clear Sky City. Quick! That's mine. Don't snatch it. The people in the city went crazy and scrambled to snatch it. Ordinary ultimate law's inheritances weren't worth much to people like Qin Feiyong, but to ordinary people, they were priceless. You can snatch it, but you can't kill anyone. Otherwise, I'll take it all back. Qin Feiyong spoke, and his gentle voice entered everyone's ears. Some people had already started fighting, but when they heard this, they quickly stopped. White-eyed Wolf raised his hand and touched Qin Feiyang's forehead. He turned to Madman and said suspiciously, "This guy doesn't have a fever." "Really?" Madman didn't believe it and also raised his hand to touch Qin Feiyang's forehead. He really didn't have a fever. But why would he do such a crazy thing? Qin Feiyang rolled his eyes and said speechlessly, "Back then, we robbed the sea race and beast race of their ultimate profound legacies and obtained more than 700,000 ordinary ultimate laws inheritances. What's the big deal about giving them 10,000? But the two frowned. "I know you feel distressed. Instead of giving it to them, it's better to give it to the people of the Black Tortoise world and Sky Cloud world. But have you thought about what benefits these 10,000 legacies can bring us?" Qin Feiyang smiled. "Benefits?" White-eyed Wolf was stunned and said suspiciously, "Are you trying to buy people's hearts?" "Yes. Although the monarch and the others have already formed an alliance with us, the people below must be very resistant to us. So, I suddenly thought of this idea to give them some benefits. This way, they will feel that we are still very good in their hearts." Qin Feiyang laughed secretly. "So that's how it is." Madman and Madman nodded and said disdainfully, "You are indeed a sly old fox. Do you know how to speak?" Qin Feiyang stared at the two. This was to prepare to overthrow the Central Dynasty. How was he a sly old fox? Suddenly, White-eyed Wolf scanned the void and said suspiciously, "Where are Dong Tianqian, Dong Ping, and Dong Xian?" Qin Feiyang and Madman were stunned. They couldn't help but look up and scan the void, but they really didn't see any figures of the three. "They sneaked away when we weren't paying attention?" White-eyed Wolf frowned. "I guess so. They are afraid that we will attack them." Madman nodded. "If we attack them now, do we still need to spend so much effort?" White-eyed Wolf sneered, looked at Qin Feiyang and asked, "Do you want to kill them?" Qin Feiyang pondered for a while and waved his hand. "Let's keep them for now. Anyway, they can't do anything now. Moreover, Dong Ping and Dong Xian are controlled by the soul-controlling technique. When the time comes, we might be able to give the Central Dynasty a surprise. As for Dong Lifu, now, he has no value. Dong Lifu, self-destruct? Even in the face of such an order, Dong Lifu didn't hesitate or resist. His divine soul flew out from the top of his head and immediately shattered in the void. His corpse also immediately fell down to the city below. From the beginning, Qin Feiyang didn't intend to let Dong Lifu go, because all the plans against them were basically thought of by Dong Lifu. Dong Qingyuan nodded in agreement. From this, it could be seen how ruthless Dong Lifu was. Such a person would definitely not be left alive. Below, after a few hundred breaths of crazily snatching, the 10,000 ultimate inheritances were finally snatched. Someone snatched one. Someone snatched 2 inheritances. A few lucky people even snatched 3 or 4 inheritances. This made them extremely excited, because this was the inheritance of the ultimate profound, not the epitome of the laws. This was equivalent to a gift from the heavens, a great fortune. Those who didn't snatch it were disappointed. "Brother Qin, can you give us some more?" Someone looked up at the sky unwillingly. Even the way they addressed him had changed. But in the sky, the figures of Qin Feiyang and the other two could no longer be found. The 3 of them had already left at some point. Thousand Phoenix Mountain. On a mountain peak, 2 black figures stood silently at the edge of the cliff. They glanced at the vast mountains and rivers in front of them with smiles on their faces. It was the inner demons and Lu Jiajin. Buzz. After a while, a time passage appeared. The inner demons and Lu Jiajin looked up and saw 3 young men walking out. Who else could it be but Qin Feiyang and the other 2? "Here." Lu Jiajin waved his hand. Qin Feiyang and the other 2 looked down with a smile on their faces and landed on the mountain peak. The white-eyed wolf immediately went up to the inner demons and said with a smile, "Little devil, let me take a look at that peak-level sovereign divine weapon." Qin Feiyang and the madman looked at each other and smiled helplessly. As expected, this guy had always been thinking about this divine weapon. "What are you looking at?" "There's nothing to look at." The inner demons glanced at him and directly refused. How could he not know the white-eyed wolf's character? Once he took it out, he could forget about taking it back. Damn, are you guarding against thieves? We are brothers. The white-eyed wolf said angrily. Yes, I am guarding against thieves. Guarding against thieves like you? The inner demons nodded. He didn't give him any face at all. The white-eyed wolf was so angry that his teeth itched. Wait, Qin Feiyang suddenly thought of something and hurriedly asked, Where did you put this divine weapon? We can't let it know about our relationship yet. After all, it was a peak-level sovereign divine weapon. If it suddenly betrayed them, wouldn't they be in trouble? Don't worry. We've already thought of this. We've already forced it to make a blood oath that it will forever be loyal to us, and now it's sealed in my space divine item. The inner demon said. That's good. Qin Feiyang heaved a sigh of relief. No. Didn't you say that your space divine item was confiscated by the Central Dynasty before you left? The white-eyed wolf was suspicious. Idiot. The inner demons rolled his eyes. Why are you suddenly scolding me? Is it because I haven't taught you a lesson in a long time and you're itching for a beating? The white-eyed wolf said angrily. Yo, I'm itching for a beating. What can you do about it? The inner demons yelled and looked at the white-eyed wolf provocatively. If you're itching for a beating, I'll beat you up. The white-eyed wolf's gaze was unfriendly. Come on, don't be polite. I'm right here. Come and beat me up. The inner demons bared his teeth and hooked his finger. Seeing this scene, Qin Feiyang and Lu Jiajin looked at each other with smiles on their faces. This was the way they were familiar with each other. Brother Wolf, you can't blame the inner demons for calling you an idiot. Think about it. With his and Lu Jiajin's strength, is it difficult to find another space divine item in the 4 great continents? The madman looked at the white-eyed wolf mockingly. The white-eyed wolf's expression stiffened and he said angrily, Do I need you to say that? I don't know. I'm just fooling around with him and nurturing the brotherly relationship that we've lost for many years. You really don't have any foresight at all. The madman's mouth twitched. He could even come up with such a lame excuse. He was indeed a genius. Buzz. At this moment, 3 space-time passages appeared one after another. The person who came was the monarch, the divine king, the sovereign of the human race. And beside the monarch, there was another person. This person was Ji Yunhai. Ji Yunhai? Looking at Ji Yunhai, whether it was Qin Feiyang's group of 3 or the inner demons, they couldn't help but frown. At the same time, Ji Yunhai looked at Qin Feiyang's group, and his heart was very nervous. Because after forming the alliance, this was the first time he came into direct contact with Qin Feiyang's group. Moreover, recalling the slaughter he had committed in the Sky Cloud Boundary and the Nether King's Hell, his heart was beating like a drum. After all, these past events couldn't be erased. Why did you bring him here? The madman looked at the divine king, his expression full of displeasure. Although Ji Yunhai had passed the monarch's test, he was still very resistant to this person. In the future, he will be the acting patriarch of the Purple Gold Divine Dragon clan. I will definitely bring him here to meet you and have a chat. The monarch smiled faintly. In fact, he also knew that Qin Feiyang's group was very resistant to Ji Yunhai. It was also because of this that he brought Ji Yunhai with him, hoping to resolve the previous grudges. There's nothing to talk about. The madman coldly snorted. Right now, he could restrain his killing intent and not make a move on Ji Yunhai. This was already his greatest limit. Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf actually had an indifferent attitude towards Ji Yunhai. Although Ji Yunhai also appeared when the Divine Kingdom invaded the Sky Cloud Boundary, he didn't bring any actual harm to the Sky Cloud Boundary. Moreover, it was Ji Yunhai who suffered a great loss every time. However, the madman couldn't do it, because the madman and Ji Yunhai already had a great hatred in their previous life. Chapter 4302. What's wrong? This is? A familiar voice rang out. A divine soul flew out from the king's body and transformed into a human figure. It was Heavenly Lord Ji. He looked at Madman and Ji Yunhai suspiciously. This was a divine soul that he split out in advance. Uncle, there are some things you don't know. We can forgive Ji Yunhai, but not little madman. The white-eyed wolf sighed. Why? Not only Heavenly Lord Ji, the king, the divine king, and the human race's supremes were also puzzled. The white-eyed wolf looked at Madman and sighed deeply. You guys don't know, but little Madman is actually the reincarnation of the Blood Demon King. What? The four of them were stunned. They really didn't know about this matter. Because in the past, Madman had always said that he had obtained the inheritance of the Blood Demon King, which was equivalent to being the Blood Demon King's disciple. But they didn't expect him to be the reincarnation of the Blood Demon King. No wonder Madman didn't like Ji Yunhai so much. Of course, the most shocked was Ji Yunhai. Back then, the Blood Demon King died in his hands. Think about it. How could Madman let go of his enemy in his previous life? So, if I don't kill you now, you should thank the gods. Don't hang around in front of me in the future. Otherwise, if I can't bear it one day, don't blame me for being ruthless. Madman snorted coldly. Ji Yunhai smiled embarrassedly. Indeed, with Madman's current strength, it was too easy to kill him. Although he had already inherited 3,000 incarnations, opened the door of potential, and obtained the ultimate inheritance, he hadn't successfully fused these inheritances. Without the will of the heavenly Tao, even if he had 3,000 incarnations, he might not be able to block Madman's all-evil sword. Moreover, if they really fell out, then as Madman's brothers, Qin Feiyong and the White-Eyed Wolf would definitely help. If Qin Feiyong and the White-Eyed Wolf also made a move, then even if he controlled the will of the heavenly Tao, he would only be waiting for death. All right. For these grudges, we can slowly resolve them in the future. The monarch waved his hand and smiled, breaking the heavy atmosphere. He looked at Qin Feiyong and said with a smile, Now, I will hand your uncle over to you. You have to ensure his safety. Father, why are you joining in the commotion? What uncle? Isn't this messing up the seniority? Ji Tianjun looked at his old father speechlessly. Ha ha! The king laughed heartily and looked at the inner demons and Lu Jiajin. He cupped his hands and said, Gentlemen, I'll leave the rest to you. We need to figure out the strength of the Death God army as soon as possible. Don't worry. We'll prepare to return to the Central Dynasty. Lu Jiajin nodded. So fast? Qin Feiyong and the others frowned. Strike while the iron is hot. Lu Jiajin smiled. But you've offended Dong Qingyuan. Wouldn't it be dangerous for you to return to the Central Dynasty now? If Dong Qingyuan tries to harm you by then, we can do nothing in the four great continents. The Divine King was rather worried. Thank you for your concern, Senior. But Dong Qingyuan is no longer a threat. This time, he made such a big mistake in the four great continents and caused the beings of the four great continents to resist the Central Dynasty. If the Emperor knows about this, he won't let him go easily. In short, he can't even protect himself now. How would he be in the mood to deal with us? Besides, it's not our fault that we killed him and took his divine weapon. He set us up first. Lu Jiajin smiled. That makes sense. The Divine King, the Human Lord, Ji Yunhai, and Ji Tianjun nodded. Suddenly, the White-Eyed Wolf rolled his eyes and asked, Cousin, why don't you try and see if you can take us to the Central Dynasty? Huh. Lu Jiajin looked at the White-Eyed Wolf in shock. Don't you have a Space Divine item now? As long as we hide in your Space Divine item, we can easily sneak into the Central Dynasty. The White-Eyed Wolf said, You're oversimplifying the problem. There are people guarding the entrance of the Central Dynasty. Even Dong Tianjin and the others have to go through their inspection before they can enter the Central Dynasty, let alone us. Lu Jiajin shook his head. So strict? The White-Eyed Wolf raised his eyebrows. Was there really no way to sneak into the Central Dynasty? You don't have to rush to the Central Dynasty. Before the main force of the Central Dynasty arrives, you should increase your strength quickly. Once the main force arrives, it will be a tough battle. Lu Jiajin looked serious. All right, then we'll go to the Central Dynasty in the future. The White-Eyed Wolf nodded. Lu Jiajin thought for a while and looked at Qin Feiyong and the others. Also, what do you plan to do with Dong Tianjin and the others? Whatever. The mad scientist and the White-Eyed Wolf shrugged. They could kill them or not. Keep them for now. They'll probably follow you back to the Central Dynasty this time. Keep an eye out for them when you're there. Qin Feiyang said. Okay. Lu Jiajin nodded. He looked at Qin Feiyang's group of 3 and the monarch's group with a smile on his face. When we return to the Central Dynasty, Heart Demon and I will try our best to delay the time, giving you enough time to cultivate. The main force of the Central Dynasty is already on the way. How are you going to delay them? Everyone was doubtful. Simple. When we meet them on the way, we'll just tell them to go back. Lu Jiajin smiled. The Divine King frowned. It's not that I doubt your ability. After all, they're big shots in the Central Dynasty. Can you make them go back? How will we know if we don't try? Anyway, we'll try our best. Take this opportunity to cultivate. Lu Jiajin smiled. Thank you. The Divine King cupped his hands. They really needed time now. If Lu Jiajin and the inner demons could really do it, it would be a great help to them. We're all on the same side. Don't be so polite. Lu Jiajin waved his hand and smiled. He looked at Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf and said, Live well. In the future, we have to go back together. None of us can be left behind. Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf looked at each other. Then, they looked at Lu Jiajin and the inner demons and said, You too? Then let's go our separate ways. Lu Jiajin laughed and then opened a space-time passage and left. The white-eyed wolf hurriedly looked at the inner demons and said, Little demon, let's talk again. Do you think I want to talk to you? The inner demons rolled his eyes and followed Lu Jiajin into the space-time passage without looking back. I've never seen such a petty person. The white-eyed wolf grumbled. The king looked at the white-eyed wolf curiously and asked, What do you want to talk to him about? What else? He's thinking about Dong Qingyuan's pinnacle dominator divine weapon. The madman pursed his lips. Heard about it. The king and the others couldn't help but laugh. The human race supreme being looked at the space-time passage that disappeared, then looked at Qin Feiyang and said with a smile, Speaking of which, you, the inner demons, and your big cousin are both amazing people. His words were full of praise. For the sake of the big picture and the common people, they entered the Central Dynasty alone. This courage and boldness was unparalleled. Yes, Qin Feiyang nodded. Whether it was the inner demons or his big cousin, they were all his pride. He was proud of them. Phew. The king took a deep breath and said with a smile, With Dong Qingyuan's self-destruction, this matter has temporarily come to an end. Everyone, quickly go back and cultivate in seclusion. Okay. The Divine King and the human race supreme being nodded. Ji Yunhai suddenly said, However, there are some things that we can't stop. What is it? The king looked at him suspiciously. Although now, the creatures of the 4 continents are already resentful of the Central Dynasty. If we just let it go like this, it might be slowly forgotten by the world after a long time. So, we have to add fuel to the fire from time to time, so that the dissatisfaction of the people towards the Central Dynasty will not decrease but increase, Ji Yunhai said. Hearing this, the king and the others couldn't help but nod in praise. Ji Yunhai was indeed a bit smart to be able to think of such small details. Ji Yunhai pondered for a while and said, Actually, we can strike while the iron is hot and persuade the venerables of our 3 races first. Persuade them? The king, the Divine King, and the human race supreme being were stunned. That's right. Ji Yunhai nodded and said with a smile, The venerables of the 3 races are all people of virtue and prestige. Chapter 4303. Second brother. Let's go then. The king looked at Ji Yunhai and smiled. And Ji Yunhai nodded. Before leaving, he looked at the madman and let out a sigh. If he knew this would happen, why did he do it in the first place? However, who would have thought that one day, the 3 races would fight side by side with the Sky Cloud realm? If one had to give a conclusion, then it could only be said that it was an ill-fated relationship. The Divine King and the human race's supreme being also didn't stay and opened a space-time tunnel to leave. After sending these people away, Ji Yunhai let out a long sigh. Uncle, what's with your expression? Why do you feel a little liberated? The white-eyed wolf looked at Ji Yunhai with ridicule. For me, this is liberating. I can finally breathe fresh air and see a different world. Heavenly Lord Ji chuckled. Is it that tiring? Others would be eager to sit in your position. You are a typical example of not knowing how lucky you are. The white-eyed wolf despised him. Lucky? Ji Yunhai was slightly taken aback and shook his head with a smile. It's my personal opinion. This was the truth. Some people liked power and the limelight. However, some people like to live a life without worries and just go with the flow. Ji Yunhai was obviously the latter. The white-eyed wolf rolled his eyes and laughed. Since we helped you get rid of it, shouldn't you thank us? What do you want? Ji Yunhai immediately stared at the white-eyed wolf with vigilance. What's with your attitude? Without us, would the king have let you go? The white-eyed wolf was dissatisfied. Come on. You have the law inheritance, the spirit vein, and the crystal vein. What else do you want? Also, don't call me uncle anymore. According to seniority, you should call me ancestor, understand? Ji Yunhai's face darkened. It was really easy to call him uncle all day. Okay. You are the elder. You have the final say. Ancestor, how are you going to thank us? The white-eyed wolf bared his teeth. Ji Yunhai was speechless. Why can't you be a saint? Don't ask for anything in return. Besides, they were all a family. There was no need to talk about gratitude. Wasn't that treating him as an outsider? Pity. The white-eyed wolf pouted. The corner of Heavenly Lord Ji's mouth twitched as he said angrily, I'm too lazy to talk nonsense with you. You shouldn't have wasted your breath on him. Argue with him? He can talk to you endlessly for 10 days to half a month. Madman looked at the white-eyed wolf with disdain. Scram. I'm just being reasonable, okay? Who's talking nonsense? The white-eyed wolf was displeased. To hell with your great principles. Madman sneered. Heavenly Lord Ji shook his head and chuckled. These brats were indeed a little fun. He hesitated for a moment and looked at Frenzy with a smile. Little Frenzy, you, uncle, stop for a moment. I know what you want to say. However, this is a grudge between me and Ji Yunhai. Please do not interfere. But don't worry, I won't act recklessly in the face of the big picture. Madman waved his hand. All right. Heavenly Lord Ji nodded helplessly. If he really wanted to talk about this matter, the fault lay with his father, the monarch. Because back then, Ji Yunhai was also ordered by the monarch to go to the Sky Cloud realm. If he were to investigate further, this fault would be placed on the Central Dynasty and the Divine Kingdom's ruler because his father, the monarch, was also acting under orders. However, no matter whose order it was, Madman did indeed die in the hands of Ji Yunhai in his previous life. And the Nether King's hell was indeed plunged into misery and suffering because of Ji Yunhai's arrival. It was normal for Madman to not be able to get over this hurdle in his heart. We'll talk about these things later. Let's go to the Black Tortoise realm first. Qin Feiyang smiled slightly. With a wave of his hand, a group of 4 immediately appeared in the Black Tortoise realm's tea garden. Every time he saw the tea trees in the tea garden, Heavenly Lord Ji couldn't help but shake his head and sigh. To be able to get so many divine tea trees from 9th Master Ji, there was probably only this Qin Feiyang in the world today. Seriously, it seems that I haven't visited those old men for a long time. Qin Feiyang laughed. Didn't you go there when you killed Dong Hanzong? Madman was suspicious. How can it be the same? Visiting them means to visit them without any other factors or motives. Qin Feiyang shook his head, pondered for a moment, and smiled. Anyway, aren't we going to cultivate in seclusion? Why don't we go to the village and accompany them? Accompany them? A trace of disdain crawled up in the white-eyed wolf's eyes and said, You want to go to 9th Master Ji's tea garden, right? Don't talk nonsense. Qin Feiyang's face darkened and said angrily, Am I such a greedy person? You definitely won't be greedy for other things, but for the divine tea tree. Everyone knows. The white-eyed wolf bared his teeth. Qin Feiyang laughed dryly, looked at Heavenly Lord Ji and said, Uncle, how about I take you to reconstruct your divine soul and body first? Okay. Heavenly Lord Ji nodded. He had long wanted to see the power of the Eye of Life. As for calling him uncle, he didn't have the energy to complain, as long as he didn't call him Big Brother. If he called him Big Brother, It would completely mess up the seniority. The white-eyed wolf suddenly said, "By the way, uncle, does your son know that you faked your death?" "He doesn't know." Heavenly Lord G shook his head and sighed. "How would I dare to tell him such a thing?" "That's true. If you tell a brainless person like him, he might tell others in the blink of an eye." The white-eyed wolf nodded. Hey, hey, hey. Can't you give me some face? He's my son after all." Heavenly Lord G said angrily, "Ha, it's the truth." The white-eyed wolf smiled. Heavenly Lord G's veins were bulging. Who were these people? Then when you self-destructed in Qingtian City, does he hate us very much? The white-eyed wolf asked again. Although Heavenly Lord G was forced to self-destruct by the inner demons, this matter was also related to them, because they were the ones who exposed everything. Of course, if he doesn't hate you, I'll teach him a lesson, because this proves that he's an unfilial white-eyed wolf. Heavenly Lord G said, "That's interesting. If he sees us in the future, he'll definitely fight us to the death." The white-eyed wolf's eyes were full of evil smiles. "What do you want?" "Let me tell you, I only have one son, and I'm still waiting for him to carry on the family line." Heavenly Lord G glared at the white-eyed wolf. The white-eyed wolf waved his hand and said, "It's okay if you don't mind. You can also take little lunatic as your godson, and he'll help you carry on the family line." "Me? Help him carry on the family line?" Lunatic pointed at his own nose and looked at the white-eyed wolf with a stunned face. "That's right. If you really become Uncle Son, then you can openly take advantage of little Qinzi in the future. At that time, if he doesn't obediently call you ancestor, I think even the king won't let him off." The white-eyed wolf nodded. Qin Feiyang's mouth kept twitching. So did Heavenly Lord Ji and Lunatic. Their foreheads were full of black lines. What the hell is this? No, this damn wolf cub, he's not a good person at all. After Heavenly Lord Ji's divine soul and body were reconstructed, Qin Feiyang personally brought Heavenly Lord Ji to an uninhabited courtyard. Although no one lived in it, Pai Lupi and Theta Wang helped to take care of it, so the courtyard was very clean. This was where Heavenly Lord Ji would live in the future. After settling down, Qin Feiyang also said that Heavenly Lord Ji could go anywhere in the Black Tortoise world as long as he was willing. After chatting for a while, Qin Feiyang and the other two left the Black Tortoise world. The village. It was still quiet and peaceful. In the sky above the mountains, Qin Feiyang and the other two walked side by side. Now that they came to the village, it was like coming home. There was no unfamiliar aura at all. Qin Feiyang looked at the village from afar and said with a smile, "We came here to show our filial piety, right?" "Yes." The two nodded. "Since it's filial piety, shouldn't we prepare some gifts?" Qin Feiyang glanced at the white-eyed wolf. "What do you want?" "I'm telling you, don't have any ideas about me." The white-eyed wolf flashed behind Lunatic and guarded against Qin Feiyang like he was guarding against a thief. "Don't use me as a shield." Lunatic took a step away and glared at the white-eyed wolf. "You have no loyalty." The white-eyed wolf grumbled. "Stop talking nonsense." Qin Feiyang glared at him and asked, "When Dong Qingyuan and Dong Laifu visited us at Blue Sun Mountain, what was the gift they gave you? What does it have to do with you?" The white-eyed wolf immediately covered the interspatial ring, fearing that Qin Feiyang would snatch it. "Do you think we won't know if you don't tell us? What else can make you care so much except for the divine brew?" Lunatic said with disdain. Ha! Seeing that Lunatic had exposed him, the white-eyed wolf laughed dryly. "Take out all the divine brews." Qin Feiyang stretched out his hand. "Why?" The white-eyed wolf frowned. "Of course, give them to the old master and the others." Qin Feiyang was speechless. How could he not understand this? Was he stupid? It wasn't that the white-eyed wolf didn't understand, but he was playing dumb. For him, asking for these divine brews was asking for his life. Why should I? Besides, why must we give them the divine brews? Doesn't Lord Jiu like drinking tea? You can give him some tea leaves. The white-eyed wolf kept shaking his head, saying that he didn't want to give it to him. Qin Feiyang said angrily, "My tea leaves are all from him. Won't you be laughed at if you ask me to give these tea leaves?" "I won't give it to him anyway." The white-eyed wolf turned his head and looked away. Qin Feiyong and Lunatic looked at each other and shook their heads helplessly. The white-eyed wolf cared about wine almost as much as Lord Gio cared about tea. While talking, the three of them landed at the entrance of the village. At this time, the sky was still dark. There were no candles in the village, and it was very quiet. I really envy them. Such a big thing happened in Qingtian City, but they still sleep when they should and get up when they should. They don't care about the outside world and live a carefree life. Lunatic shook his head. One day in the future, we can also live such a life. Qin Feiyong smiled slightly. I hope so. Lunatic sighed and looked at the river next to him, then looked outside Boss G's house and said with a smile, let's not wake them up first. Let's wait for them to wake up naturally. I saw a few fishing rods outside Grandpa's house. Why don't we play night fishing? Grandpa was naturally referring to Boss G. Okay. Qin Feiyong nodded and smiled. It had been a long time since he calmed down and sat by the river to fish. Fishing was also a kind of cultivation, the cultivation of the mind. Chapter 4304. The frenzied man and the white-eyed wolf were both excited at first. However, when they sat by the river and looked at the bobber that didn't move for a long time, they quickly lost interest. The two of them lay on the grass with their hands behind their heads and looked up at the starry sky. The frenzied man smiled and asked, Old Qin, Brother Wolf, if I die in the divine kingdom one day, will you still think of me as your brother? Who will think of you? You're not a beauty. The white-eyed wolf bared his teeth. Heartless. The frenzied man pouted. Qin Feiyong shook his head and laughed. Looking at the motionless bobber on the river, he smiled and said, Don't say such unlucky things. Before Big Cousin left, he said that we have to go back alive and not a single one of us can be left behind. Not a single one of us can be left behind. The frenzied man muttered and chuckled. Brother Wolf, did you hear that? Don't fall behind. As he spoke, there was a hint of sleepiness in his voice. I'm talking about you. You're so arrogant and offended so many people. If you're not careful, you'll lose your life. The white-eyed wolf grinned. My life? Shouldn't it be my life? You make it sound like I'm already an old antique. As his body and mind relaxed, the frenzied man became more and more sleepy. Do you think you're still young? Sigh. Although I don't want to admit it, we're not young anymore. The people of Great Qin probably think of us as old ancestors now. The white-eyed wolf sighed. Time passed so quickly. Thinking back to the time when he met Qin Feiyong and the frenzied man, it felt like it had just happened yesterday. After waiting for a while and seeing that the frenzied man didn't reply, the white-eyed wolf turned his head and found that the frenzied man had already fallen asleep with a faint smile on his face. He looked very relaxed and peaceful. The white-eyed wolf also smiled and looked up at the boundless starry sky before slowly closing his eyes. Why aren't you talking? After a long time, Qin Feiyong suspiciously turned his head to look at the two of them. Seeing that both of them had fallen asleep, he couldn't help but be surprised. Didn't they say they were going to fish at night? Why are they all asleep? He shook his head and got up. He took out 2 sets of clothes from his universe ring and covered them with them. Subsequently, Qin Feiyong also sat at the side and looked at the quiet night sky with a smile on his face. Although he had left his hometown since he was a child and suffered a lot, he had never been lonely. That was because there was always someone accompanying him. In a person's life, it was enough to have 2 brothers who were willing to live and die with you. The sky gradually brightened. Early in the morning, the sun shone down and all living things came back to life. Boss G was the first to walk out of the house with a teacup in his hand. He looked refreshed. He walked to the entrance of the village and prepared to sit in an armchair to enjoy the tranquility of the morning. But suddenly, he noticed Qin Feiyong and the other 2 on the riverbank. Why are these 3 little fellows here? Moreover, they had all fallen asleep by the river? That's right. Qin Feiyong had also fallen asleep. After returning to the village, he felt unprecedentedly relaxed. Unknowingly, he had put down all his burdens and then slowly fell asleep. In fact, this was the sense of belonging and security of home. Ji Lauer and the others also walked out of the house one after another and walked to Boss Ji. When they saw Qin Feiyang and the other two lying by the river, they couldn't help but be stunned. Why are they sleeping by the river? Hurry up and wake them up. If they want to sleep, they should go to bed. After Ji Laoshi finished speaking, he walked towards the three of them. Laoshi. Master Jiu stopped him. What's wrong? Ji Laoshi stopped and turned to look at him suspiciously. Master Jiu shook his head and said, It's not easy for them to sleep. Don't wake them up. But, Ji Laoshi frowned. They are already at such a cultivation level. Are you still afraid that they will catch a cold? Let them have a good rest. These years have been really tiring. Master Jiu smiled slightly and looked at Qin Feiyang and the other two with eyes full of love. All right. Ji Laoshi nodded. Indeed. These years, these little guys had been running around in the Divine Kingdom and had to face such a strong enemy like the Central Dynasty. If it were other young people, they would have collapsed long ago. And these three little guys had been strong until now. It wasn't easy. Moreover, with the heavy burden and responsibility on their shoulders, once they were woken up, it was impossible for them to fall asleep again. Master Jiu smiled and said, But speaking of which, they can sleep so peacefully here. Do you know what this means? It means that they are tired. Ji Laoshi said without hesitation, You're wrong. Master Jiu shook his head. Wrong? Ji Laoshi was stunned and puzzled. And, wrong? It's impossible to sleep so soundly alone outside, no matter how tired they are. Master Jiu smiled. That's true. Ji Laoshi nodded. So, they treat this place as their home. Only the sense of belonging and security of home can make them put down everything and have a good sleep. Look at them now. We're talking loudly, but they haven't woken up. This means that they are very relieved to be here. Master Jiu smiled. Hearing this, a group of old people inadvertently showed a smile on their faces. If they treated this place as their home, then these old people were naturally their family. Old woman, let's have more lunch today. Ji Lauer turned his head to look at the second young mistress and smiled. Keep your voice down. Don't wake them up. The second young mistress glared at the old man who had no sense of propriety. It was originally a dead game, but with Qin Feiyang's move, not only did it help Boss Ji revive the game, but it also turned Ji Jiu's side into a dead game. Kid, you're good. Ji Jiu patted Qin Feiyang's shoulder and looked at Ji Jiu with a smile. Brother Jiu, who told you to show off in front of us all day long? Now you've met your match. Ji Jiu glared at Ji Jiu, then looked up at Qin Feiyang and said, What's this move called? Desperate counterattack. Qin Feiyang smiled. What a desperate counterattack. Ji Jiu smiled bitterly. Didn't you want to worship me as your master? Hurry up, I've already prepared tea for you. Madman chuckled. Ji Jiu's face darkened, and he quickly changed the topic. He coughed and said, Well, did you sleep well? Madman looked at him with disdain and said, I slept too well. Boss Ji asked, Then this time, are you going to stay a little longer or? That depends on your attitude. If you want us to leave now, we'll leave now. If you want us to stay a little longer, we'll stay a little longer. Madman chuckled. Then get out of here now, Ji Jiu said with a dark face. I'm so sad. Madman immediately wiped his tears. Wipe, wipe, wipe. Leave a drop of tear for me to see. Ji Jiu rolled his eyes. Ha! Madman laughed dryly. You're all awake. At this time, second young mistress walked out of the house. And Qin Feiyang and the other two nodded. When did you come last night? Why didn't you wake us and sleep by the river? What if you catch a cold? Second young mistress said reproachfully, but her words were full of concern. Although they all knew that it was impossible for people with their cultivation base to catch a cold, they didn't say it out loud. Because this was her concern for the three of them. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, We came last night in the middle of the night. Seeing that you were all resting, we didn't disturb you. You're treating us as outsiders. This is your home. You can come whenever you want. Second young mistress said. Thank you, great-grandmother. Qin Feiyang and the other two were touched. Okay, it's time to eat. You guys clean up. After saying that, second young mistress turned around and went back into the house. Chapter 4305. Time to eat, time to eat. Everyone, help me clean up. Boss G chuckled. Qin Feiyang and the other two quickly went forward to clean up the chessboard and chess pieces on the table. Seeing the three of them scrambling to do the work, the group of old men was pleased. If it was any other young man with the strength and status of the three of them, these old men wouldn't even put them in their eyes. But in the eyes of Qin Feiyang and the other two, they only saw respect and filial piety. You are guests? How can we let you do it? Let us do it. Ji Laoshi mocked. Guests? Great-grandfather, if you say so, then we will leave now. We came back specifically to show our filial piety. Frenzy said. Came back specifically to show our filial piety. The group of old men looked at each other and looked at the three of them who were busy with their heads lowered. Their eyes were a little wet. What's wrong? Qin Feiyang looked at the group of people suspiciously. Nothing. Sand got into my eyes. Boss G waved his hand. Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled. He could even find such a lame excuse. He sighed and said, The three of us have no relatives or friends in the divine kingdom, let alone a sense of belonging. It was you who gave us the warmth of a family and allowed us to have someone to rely on in the divine kingdom. If we don't show our filial piety to you, who else can we show our filial piety to? I can't say something as emotional as old Qin, but I am really grateful to you for supporting us so much, trusting us, and treating us like your own grandchildren. Frenzy looked up at the group of old men and said. Boss G and the others looked at each other and were very pleased. In today's world, there were very few young people like him who knew how to repay kindness. Take their descendants as an example. Even the monarch and Ji Yunhai rarely came to visit them. Needless to say, Ji Shaoi, Ryuko, and the other juniors, if you didn't call them over, they definitely wouldn't take the initiative to visit. Looking at the three kids in front of them, although they had met less than 10 times, they still cared about these old men in their hearts. Even now, they specially came to show their filial piety. Such a character was rare. Sit down. Boss G waved his hand. Qin Feiyang and the other two placed the chess pieces and the chessboard, and then sat around the table with the group of old people. Second young mistress and the others also came over with delicious dishes. You three silly children, we heard everything you said outside. What do you mean no relatives or friends? Aren't the people of the Purple Gold Divine Dragon clan your relatives? Second young mistress put down the dishes and looked at Qin Feiyang and the other two with a smile. That's right. You might not like the land of the Purple Gold Divine Dragons, but this place will always be your safe haven. Boss G nodded. Thank you, great-grandpas and great-grandmas. Qin Feiyang and the other two felt their hearts ache. There were still people in the divine kingdom who were genuinely good to them. Second young mistress waved her hand and said, Don't say so much. Hurry up and eat. You haven't even eaten breakfast. The dishes on the table were wild vegetables personally planted by a group of old people, as well as air-dried fish and meat. Although they were not as good as exotic delicacies, this was the taste of home. Qin Feiyang ate a piece of fish and turned to the white-eyed wolf. He asked, Didn't you prepare a gift for great-grandpa and great-grandma? Hurry up and take it out. The white-eyed wolf looked at Qin Feiyang in shock. Gift? What gift? Why didn't he know? You still have a gift? The group of old people laughed and looked at the white-eyed wolf. Yes. You even specially prepared a gift for great-grandpa and great-grandma. Frenzy looked at Qin Feiyang's eyes and understood. He chewed on a bone and said with a smirk. Seeing the smirk on their faces, the white-eyed wolf immediately understood. He glared at the two of them and reluctantly took out an interspatial ring. You really have one. The group of old people's faces bloomed with smiles. To be honest, as people of their age, they didn't want any gifts at all. They were satisfied as long as the juniors had the heart. It's a gift for you. The white-eyed wolf handed the interspatial ring to Boss G with a smile. Since he had already been tricked, he might as well give it to these old people with a smile rather than a sullen face. As long as these old people were happy, it was fine. Boss G took the interspatial ring and checked it. He was immediately full of smiles. What's this? Ji Laoshi was curious. Boss G threw the interspatial ring to Ji Laoshi. Ji Laoshi checked it and was stunned. So much divine wine? There were at least dozens of varieties. It was not easy to collect dozens of varieties. They might have to go to all the restaurants in the 3 continents. From this, it could be seen that these children were indeed filial. Okay, since you've brought the wine, let's have a few drinks at noon. The group of old people didn't stand on ceremony and took out a few jars of divine wine. The white-eyed wolf's heart ached. He couldn't even bear to drink it himself. Ji Laoshi poured the wine and asked, "What are you going to do next?" "What are you talking about, Laoshi? Have you seen any children come home to talk about business?" Boss Ji glared at Ji Laoshi unhappily. Huh. Ji Laoshi was dazed. He patted his head and smiled embarrassedly. Well, yes. Let's not talk about these annoying things at home. Boss Ji looked at Qin Feiyong and the other 2 and smiled. We don't care about what you do outside. But when you come back here, you have to let go of everything and have a good rest. Okay. The 3 nodded. They liked this feeling. A month passed in the blink of an eye. Qin Feiyong and the other 2 stayed in the village. During the day, they accompanied the group of old people and set up a time array to cultivate in seclusion at night. Everything seemed very peaceful. The group of old people was also very happy. They were all smiles all day. Outside, however, a storm was brewing. Under the influence of the monarch, the divine king, and the human sovereign, the people of the 3 major races were more and more dissatisfied with the central dynasty. In fact, the central dynasty was like a rat on the street that everyone wanted to beat up. At the same time, Forbidden Ocean, in the depths, above the ocean, a group of people came in a mighty manner. These people were men and women, old and young. They were all wearing the same black clothes. There was a sharp sword pattern embroidered on their chest. Each of them exuded an unfathomable aura, and it was filled with a murderous aura. The beasts along the way all fled at the sight of it. We have entered the territory of the 4 great continents. We will leave the Forbidden Ocean in a month or so. Everyone must be prepared. The leader was a black-robed old man. He scanned the endless ocean and said without turning his head, "Yes, Commander." The people behind him replied respectfully. There were about 5,000 to 6,000 people. Their eyes were as sharp as blades. "Commander, there are people in front." Suddenly, a black-robed, middle-aged man pointed at the ocean in front. "People? Could it be that Qin Feiyong and the others know that we are going to the 4 great continents and are here to kill us?" Someone raised an eyebrow. The commander did not speak and looked at the ocean in front. Soon, 5 figures rushed over at high speed. It was the inner demons, Lu Jiajin, Dong Tianqian, Dong Ping, and Dong Xian. "It's them," the commander muttered and quickly went to greet them. At the same time, the inner demons also saw this group of people. Dong Tianqian, who are they? The inner demons was suspicious. Dong Tianqian glanced at the group of people and suddenly noticed the sword pattern on their chest. He said in surprise, "They are from the Death God Army." Death God Army. The inner demons and Lu Jiajin looked at each other. They did not expect that they would send a Death God Army, and there were too many of them. There were about 6,000 of them. Although I have not been to the Death God Army's nest, I have seen the totem on their chest. Dong Tianqian said, "It is said that every member of the Death God Army has mastered the will of the heavenly Tao. 6,000 of them came at once. It is clear that the emperor values people like Qin Feiyong very much." Dong Ping said in a deep voice, "What should we do now? Should we continue to return to the central dynasty or follow them to the 4 great continents?" Dong Xian asked. This, Dong Tianqian and Dong Ping did not know what to do. They could not help but look at the inner demons and Lu Jiajin. The inner demons and Lu Jiajin's eyes flashed. They were originally planning to meet the people from the central dynasty halfway and find an excuse to let them go back. They did not expect that it would be the Death God Army that came. These people would only listen to the emperor's orders. It would be difficult to let them go back. "Why don't you say something?" Dong Ping looked at the 2 of them. The inner demon said, "I don't care what you do. Big brother and I must return to the central dynasty." "Why?" Dong Ping was suspicious. "Kill Dong Qingyuan. Even if the emperor protects him, He must die. The inner demons laughed. His eyes were full of murderous intent. Dong Tianqin and the other two were shocked. It seemed that Dong Qingyuan's plot to kill the brothers' family had completely angered them. I think you should follow us back to the Central Dynasty. Because of Dong Tianqin, you are bound by the blood oath. Dong Ping and Dong Xian are controlled by the soul-controlling technique. If you go back with the Death God army now, Qin Feiyong will not let you go. Lu Jiajin's eyes flashed. The three of them heard this and their hearts sank. That was right. They could not go back to the four great continents. Even if they wanted to go back, they had to break the blood oath and the soul-controlling technique first. Finally, the two groups met. Greetings, seniors. Dong Tianqin and the other two bowed to the Death God army. However, the inner demons and Lu Jiajin only smiled coldly. The Death God army could not help but frown. They were indeed as arrogant as the rumors said. The inner demons did not know these people, but these people had heard about the deeds of the inner demons in the Central Dynasty. They could only be described with one word: lawless. I am the commander of the Death God army, Dong Yiming. The leader of the black-robed old men said, Senior Commander, sorry for the disrespect. Dong Tianqin smiled respectfully. Dong Yiming waved his hand and looked at the five of them suspiciously. He asked, Where are you going? Back to the Central Dynasty. Dong Tianqin said truthfully. Back to the Central Dynasty? Dong Yiming was stunned. The thousands of people behind him also had a trace of suspicion. Dong Yiming asked, Have you dealt with Qin Feiyong and the others? End of chapter. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.